Joe, you know,
Thanks.
I get
Are
you
you
on
good?
Firethorns Road.
Okay.
Well, first of all, we shouldn't be talking about,
No.
I mean, because we're all together here.
I make a
so-
motion to come back into open session.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. We have, people have all left. I requested the sheriff to come down, so, you know, that may be a thing that's gonna happen, you know, because I can't have these meetings, we can't have these kind of meetings anymore. And I'm just gonna, you know, I'm not the mayor, but I'm gonna bring this up. We operate under Robert's rules. Robert's rules, when I've been on this council a long time, back in the day, you know, you didn't speak, you raised your hand, the mayor recognized you, he controlled the meeting, the mayor controls the meeting, whether we like it or not, that's what the thing is. The mayor is but you have to be recognized, and you don't speak over each other, and you don't start arguing with
That's
each
not
other.
a rule, son. I'm sorry, Nick, it's not a rule. I'll
It
abide
was-
by the ones that are there, but I'm not gonna abide by a new rule.
That was always the
There
rules.
you go again.
Well, and Nick,
Are you kidding me?
since
The
when
person who's attacked me
since
from
when
day
does
one,
the
are you
coun-
kidding me? You think I'm gonna leave it up to you?
since when does the mayor bring
The mayor runs the
written
meeting.
script?
The mayor controls
The
the
mayor
meeting.
controls the meeting, but why does the mayor lead off with a written script?
Exactly.
You
That's a
can-
political
you can leave off
script.
a
You
written
can do
script.
anything
But
you
it
want
can
to
take
prepare
false
for your meeting.
information.
That's okay, but Robert, then we use our rules, which is point of
Again,
information to go
again,
back.
false
That's not a
information
problem.
Subjective. in a way.
No, no.
Well,
this
unless you
wasn't
can, unless you're gonna prove.
I proved it right here, and you're
No.
not gonna concede that there was false information?
I haven't seen, like I said, I haven't heard, I haven't been able to say a word in this thing. It has been just.
I've been
yelling
trying to
until-
focus on what it is, the policy. It doesn't matter to me what happened, other than what was adopted. Maybe that's wonky, maybe that's boring, but the reality is, I don't really care what happened this year to that those roads. What I do care about is this. It was adopted, and a road policy was adopted in 2016. The road program for 5 years was delineated. The NCDOT teaming on those roads was delineated. If you decide you want to veer from that policy, I'm going to say what I've said for 12 years. You don't like the policy? Change it. But you don't untransparently just override it like it never existed. And somewhere, I'm not saying anyone did or didn't. I'm just saying the policy was adopted. It was adopted by 3 people who are currently sitting on this council. That's not me and Kelly. Okay? So, do the math. It was adopted. From that point forward, that's the policy in place. So what I needed to understand was why it was that $388,000 were now being allotted to roads that were in no adopted policy ever seen before. Sorry, that were in a policy contrary to a policy that had been adopted. That is the only thing I came into that meeting trying to understand. How did I understand the roads were rated? I got that. But who's deciding? And there was a policy. Not anyone on this council who had voted on that policy stepped up that morning and said, oh yeah, there's a policy though. You didn't do it last month. You didn't do it the month before. You didn't do it the month before. Meanwhile, I'm playing like Raiders of the Lost Ark, trying to figure out how on earth did we even get here? Nobody else did that. So when you go ahead and you point out the fact, well, it's been on the agenda. Yes, it's been on the agenda with very little information. Did no one else but me remember that there was a policy adopted? And isn't that the discussion here? I don't get it.
I'll concede that I didn't remember that this was actually turned into an official policy, which I'm glad you brought up.
Thank you.
My concern was this one sheet of paper that I was given that morning, and not.
I understand. And that was good information perhaps, but these guys would like to believe, I think some, that was a political motivation. It was not. It did not make sense
No.
to do roads that are 90. I'm not saying these guys, I
Kim
mean
never said that.
some other people.
never said
I know
that.
she didn't. No, but some, because we got an email that insinuated that. And I know that the only thing driving me that day was I thought there was a policy. I thought this all came from somewhere. I've been here 8 months, and despite asking and looking and finding, it felt like everything was being rammed down our throat to adopt these policies. Not anyone's fault. Everyone's got deadlines. And yet, Mr. Mayor, you two were here. If you had an issue, if you knew there was a policy, Nick Dispensary was also here. You all voted on a policy. Why did no one else bring it up?
What is the, let me see the policy, do you have that?
So,
It's this thing, right?
Raise your
so,
hand.
That's all. That's all I cared about.
I'm gonna let you run the meeting next, since I'm apparently too.
So, okay, so with
Well,
that,
I'd like to at least get some kind of into the conversation a little bit, but,
Well, go ahead.
I mean. this
And then
is-
they talk
this
about
is-
accountability.
Mary, please.
This is a road acceptance policy, which. Unless I'm looking at it wrong.
Yeah, it reads like this. There's 4 sheets of paper and 2 of them read side by side and then the other 2 read side by side. So that's a better version of the same
So-
chart.
Well, actually, while you're,
And this
if
is
you don't
the
mind, tell the whole group what's there, just so we all understand. Because to Mary's point, I came to the meeting not really making the connection about road acceptance policy being official.
Do you, Councilman Rex, do you mind if I interject in?
I'd rather he
Okay.
first finish what he was telling
Sure.
me, but for the group.
I mean, you want me to
That's-
describe what
Yeah,
it is?
yeah,
Well,
please do.
That page that's on top is not what, that's something completely separate.
No. This part is the same.
Is part of that. I think I showed him
as
that last week, last
this.
meeting. I gave him 2 because I found him in that
But
I'm gonna
file.
take it
smaller.
apart.
I was trying to
I'm gonna take
put
it apart.
Yeah,
papers
yeah, that'd
together.
be nice. Okay.
The one with 2016?
Not that part.
That's
Just
what I'm saying.
the
That's
part
that's-
below it. Just the part below it.
Now, I don't know who brought it up before, but I do
I know that's why
remember
that's not part of that discussion.
Mhm.
That's what I was
that
gonna.
Councilman
Right,
Salmayo did make mention at the time that we needed to look at it
Also,
yearly, the policy, and see what roads needed to be done and what, you know.
But there's a
This
5,
wasn't a written stone thing.
but there's a 5-year plan attached to it.
Well,
Canterfield Creek was not included in the 5-year plan.
I
Because
can't
they
talk
were
about that. I can
already-
only talk
they
about what
were
we're doing
already
now.
Which is
I'm tired
why
of
we
going
were
into the
allowing them to do
history,
it. We
a
were
history
allowing
that we
them
have no
to-
control
all
over.
right, but like I said, you know,
Can we talk about what's here?
great, but I mean, as far as I recall, I mean, as far as I've always felt, the policy was basically that we would not get involved in deciding which streets were getting done, which weren't getting done. That was gonna be done by, you know, AMT and the NCDOT. I mean, I'm looking at this list. I mean, you got $1,143,000 worth of work being done. NCDOT is picking up 754,000 of it. Now, I think probably they're picking up a lot of that because they're gonna do the roads if we take over the roads in Firethorn. If we tell them we're not gonna take over the roads in Firethorn, they're probably not gonna do the other roads. You know, I mean, I don't see that they're gonna.
Yeah, but excuse me, I just don't want us to make assumptions at this point. I would really like for us to talk about what there's record of. That's all I've done from the beginning. That's why I find it ironic that people will tell me that it's political. I'm looking at the policy. I'm reading the policy. If at any point something changed, then it should have been amended. It says right here, the village engineer shall submit a 5-year road acceptance plan that includes existing public NCDOT maintained roads within the village's jurisdiction. In July of each year, the plan will be reviewed by the engineer and evaluated by the village council. The council shall consider the cost of repairs or resurfacing such that the road is brought to existing NCDOT standards at the time of acceptance. So, I mean, and it goes on and on and on. So these statements here and about how it was cavalier this and maybe we talked about that and I think maybe this happened and I think, it doesn't matter what y'all think. It matters what you adopt.
Okay, but, I mean, and I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say, I agree with you, Mary, that there might be a 5-year policy, but we have, as council, have a right to override policy. I mean,
I'm sorry, I missed that, Nick.
I said, we as council have a
Sure.
right to override a policy.
But you haven't adopted a new one. There's a policy you have to revise or rescind. You can't just forget the policy never existed.
Well,
It says 5-year program, just implied in the policy itself, says that you're going to be looking ahead to a 5-year program. I'm not saying that this thing that's attached to it is the be all and end
but
all.
we haven't followed this because it says in July of each year, we'll review the engineer, review the plan.
That's why I brought it up for discussion.
but I feel like that's what we did.
But that's Mary's point, is we didn't have, you know, so many other things, we have all the documentation and we're sort of walk through, like when Chris does a budget. She makes it easy to follow. This same information really could have been handled the same way, and we wouldn't be in this position
That's
today.
right.
And I think that's kind of, if I could distill everything down to that, Nick, you're right, council can override policy, but we need it on full packets of information, and simply getting this, and, you know, some of this the night before, some of this the morning of, some of it's a couple months before, getting it just sort of out there mixed, is a far cry from like a budget meeting.
Right, but-
Where everything's laid
Well,
out.
again,
So-
my concern is, if we don't take the roads that NCDOT is saying that they want us to take, they're not gonna take the other roads, they're not
They
gonna pony up
didn't
well, they haven't said it, but I'm saying, and we sort of damage our relationship with them as far as, you know, that they're gonna pick up, you know,
Do you
because they
know
wanna
that
get
for
rid of
sure?
roads, or they want roads off their list.
Do you know that for sure?
I think we
I don't
damaged
know for
it
sure, but I
initially.
get it.
Okay, well,
and
then
we-
should you find
I
out?
think we damaged it initially, but we're getting back in their good graces by taking over and showing them it. And the way we damaged it initially is when they required us through Powell bill funds to take over roads. And what a former council before I was here chose to do was just take cul-de-sacs. So it wasn't in the spirit of, hey, we're gonna take over roads. They
That
just took
didn't
over
damage our
cul-de-sacs.
relationship.
Hold on.
I think,
That was
I
just
think,
smart.
I think.
That was just
Can I,
smart.
can I,
You can
point
look
of
at it
order though,
savvy,
point of order?
DOT can look at it,
Again,
and
when
they
you,
all have a whole different-
Speculating.
They can look at it.
exactly, this,
You're
I
just
think,
speculating.
we've all agreed we want shorter meetings. Can we stop talking about what we think about and let's go to what we know? Right now, we don't know that we've damaged a relationship. I do know we're violating policy. I do know that. I don't think that we have a bad or malice intent in terms of wanting to accept these roads and resurface them, but we don't have a very good process of doing that. Or at least not one we've enacted. Those are true statements.
I was.
Hold on, can I say something real quick, Robert? And I agree with you. Like, I don't think we can make decisions when we get this, the morning of, this, like beforehand. We shouldn't have made a decision last meeting. Like, we just shouldn't have. Because if we wanna go on what our policies are, and we disagreed with what the policy was, which I clearly did because I voted no, then we need to revisit the policy.
Thank you.
So,
And-
and hold on,
Yeah.
and I don't think that we can say, this is our 5-year policy, because I feel like, this is what I think, that this is more of a fluid document that's going to change, especially when we get the new ratings done.
Right.
So I feel like, again, it needs to be like in there, DOT, AMT, they're making the decisions, and they tell us what it is, and that should be our road acceptance policy.
To your point, you're right, because even this says then it will come to council.
My hand is up.
Sorry. I go ahead.
Nick's got to address you. So
I
Nick
just want to tell her
says
she's
it's
correct.
not-
It feels good to have someone
Nick,
who's.
is it okay? I just want to agree with Kim, first off. Second, it's a semi-fluid document. When we first got into it, AMT suggested they look at it. I'm afraid if I take it down,
Can't talk anymore.
AMT suggested that they look at the list I thought every couple years. Ron, talked about every year, but he's not AMT. AMT said look at it every
5
couple
years.
years, which I thought Philip Moxley reinforced at the last meeting. And one of the most important things that you just said, one was, you were right, that we needed it all. And that was kind of Mary's point is, she didn't have it all, I know I didn't have it all. I think she cares more about having it all laid out than I do, but I didn't have certainly enough when there's conflicting information. If these look the same, that'd be one thing, but they were conflicting. The other part of that is, it wasn't, we were being asked to make a decision that morning.
that's
I mean,
right.
that seemed,
No,
they
no,
got missed
yeah.
on the, the
No.
crowd. I don't know who got them wound up. I'm not saying you did, Joe, but it sure felt like it.
Yeah.
But earlier I said I thought you did it. I'll take it back. Somebody got them wound up. And if it was Mr. Jones, the planning board chair, that took it on himself to do that, it was unnecessary. Because we were asked to make a decision on what I'll call insufficient information, inconsistent information is the biggest thing. And, Nick, the original idea was 3 miles when we were doing it. This is almost 7. So I get what, or excuse me, 6.3. So that was the other thing is if they're doing it for free, that's one thing, great. But if they're doing it just because they thought we were trying to get it done quicker, remember we went to that someone talked about condensing to a 4-year plan? I think that may be where we ended up on this, which is no one's fault. If we ever related to AMT that we were trying to get the roads done in 4 years instead of,
Does that sound
yeah, I think it
right?
was before Christina. I think it was,
But I thought that you cut the budget in half because the park was now paying for it.
That was, and I think that's what Joe's trying to confirm. Yeah, that was the idea. But understand, I think
Not
this
the park-
higher
the park
number,
money
which
that
is
we
no
don't
one's fault, ended up here, the 6 miles, and the 6 miles is what I'm focused on, because we said we wanted to do our 27 miles of road in 4 years instead of 10, which is, I think we've all decided probably isn't the best idea.
Well,
And it wasn't the original policy.
right, that's the other part that caught my eye. I was like, how did this, in the minutes, it says 10-year plan, correct? It's a 10-year plan.
It was
Why
always
did
a-
you go to 4 years?
It was always
all of
a
a sudden?
10-year plan, and it wasn't a perfect
It
plan, but
was
the idea
20.
was a couple,
It was initially like
Yeah,
it was a
apparently
three-year
it
plan.
wasn't done.
Then it was asked, and that's what got me
but then we
asking
did
the
the
question,
math
what do
on
we
the
do right?
miles, remember?
Right, I
And
just
that worked
didn't,
out to 10 years.
they've
So-
mostly said that it was gonna be, I'm gonna go ahead and let you, because I want you to interject on what you know or what you've learned from DOT. But I do have one question. Obviously, they started the process with marking up roads. And there's marks on all over Firethorn, there's marks at Heritage Oaks, there's marks and thing. So, obviously, they don't go forward with anything unless, and there's an amount there, but it was that amount just talked about with AMT, because to your point, when we went to a 4-year program, maybe when we initially had that, and it's conjecture, if you will. I mean, I'm guessing that 4-year program, that means they're gonna be a little more aggressive and do more roads, because DOT wants nothing more to get rid of this. But either way,
But when
they
did that
started,
policy come about? When did it become 4 years?
either way, they started the process. So with them starting the process, I mean, to jump in now and say, okay, hold on a second, we don't want you doing any of this, it's just, it doesn't feel right. If there's an issue we need to take care of, let's take care of it.
Point of information, we didn't say don't do any of it. You know, unfortunately, we got two issues going on, but we can finish with this first one, which is it's just the road schedule. The other is the
Yeah.
Private, public.
Private.
Yeah, there's two separate issues, right.
So unfortunately, there were two separate issues that ended up sounding like we were saying no to everything, but we actually said that DOT couldn't do these other subdivisions, but we weren't comfortable taking those roads into Marvin without talking to those HOAs. That's all we said.
That's
And
right.
again, because we were being asked to make a decision that morning. Now, if Nick had wanted us to wait, or you felt like we needed to wait for him, that's fine. But we were
I
being
would have
asked
loved
to
to.
make a
I would have loved
decision that
another
day.
month, wouldn't I have? How often did I delay it? I delayed it as long as I could,
wanted to
because I
think
needed
they
the
were marking
information.
roads.
I didn't even come into that meeting
I-
expecting to say no to anything. I had.
I was told I needed to make
preconceived
a
ideas.
decision a month before that meeting. And I was the one going, hey, can we slow down? Can we continue this? Can we understand this better? That's all.
You know, in all fairness, she did have her hand up first.
Who? Oh, go ahead.
I just want to make a couple of remarks, and Councilmember Epps, I'm not trying to correct you, but I don't want this to be a bad reflection on me. The exhibit that y'all keep referencing that has the amounts on there, it was actually put into your agenda packet for the 3 weeks, the 3 agendas prior to the one where I was asking to make the adoption.
Was it always this small? Because I honestly never saw those numbers.
It's always been that small.
I just didn't know what they meant, to be honest.
So I just wanted to make that correction because I don't
Thank
want
you.
people thinking I'm asking
If
you
you
to
were,
make
if
decisions.
this was just dropped on you.
That's fair.
That's fair.
I also wanted to let you know that Councilmember Scoot did ask me several times for information. I looked everywhere. We stayed
She tried.
3 hours on the phone probably one day going through stuff, and we thought we had found it. Apparently we didn't. So she did in fact ask for it several weeks in advance, if not months in advance.
So what you guys weren't trying to do subterfuge and hide it. It just literally,
Correct.
nobody could find it.
We have a
till-
policy manual. I went to it. I
Yeah.
couldn't find it.
Okay.
We looked everywhere for it.
So-
Just
Well,
so
but
you guys
I
know,
was asking,
didn't
can I
know
just
she
correct
was
the one
looking
thing?
for it, but when she told me,
Yeah.
I keep my agenda packets and they're in a bin in the garage, that's when I said, hey, I might have it.
Yeah.
And it took a little while to dig it out, and I ended up just giving her several packets and said, it's in one of those.
So,
So that,
And let me
there's
just correct
nothing
one
weird
thing.
going on here. It
Not-
was a search for
right.
information.
So,
Christina is correct that I asked about the policy weeks before, but before that, I was asking for months about where the 4-year policy came from.
Yes,
Right?
yes.
Because even that was like, well, how on earth did we get from like this 10, 20-year program to the 4-year program, which is escalating our expenditures, right, exponentially? So I was asking way back then, and that's what snowballed, and I wasn't getting any answers.
She might.
No, I asked
No, but
through
no,
the
well-
administrator. That's the
She-
policy, I think.
She may know. I never. Oh, go ahead.
I passed out, I'd spent a lot of time researching why Canterfield was picked first, why Firethorn was on the list, because I wanted to know those answers too. So I went back and I looked at every single agenda item that had the mention of Canterfield and Firethorn ever. What I passed out earlier was just kind of a synopsis of different meetings that had every single mention of Canterfield, and Weddington Chase is in there. I think, I don't remember every detail that Councilmember Epps said regarding Weddington Chase in your earlier conversation, but I think for the most part, everything that you reconciled with the way Weddington Chase was approved is reflected in some of these minutes. The main part that I wanted to highlight was on the third page, and
Is that on 126?
well, I'll just read it to you. You don't have to, you don't have to follow me if you don't want to. Councilmember Salameo stated that it's a 5-year rolling program, but council didn't want to accept all 30 roads in 5 years. Council wants to spread this out over 12 to 15 years. We have enough to do 2 miles per year, basically. This was continuously stated in several meetings. They discussed that some years would go into 4 miles, and it would just depend on what DOT had during that given cycle. Mr. Underwood, Philip Moxley was very involved in these meetings, so they basically came up with the suggestion. I did, in fact, find Canterfield in an older system for 2016. I don't even know if y'all have that, but
Oh, you found one?
I did.
Well, right here, and I don't mean to stop you, but that road acceptance plan
Here you go. It's,
The sheets I found for
references
you.
2017, but right here in the minutes, it says we briefly discussed the Canterville Roads project, and that was back in January 17, so.
And it then goes on the next page to talk about, again, taking action to advise Mr. Underwood to reevaluate it over a 10 to 15 year plan. And then that's how it went on to Canterfield, and it was all recommended by AMT.
Thank you.
There's some mention of Weddington Chase in there. Anyways, that's what's in this, what I just passed out. Y'all can go back and read it, but that's pretty much a reiteration of that.
And FYI, just to give a context, poor Barbie, that's why every few weeks I ask her for the next set of packets and meeting minutes from 2016, right? Because I was trying my best to figure out how was all of this devised. It's an important program. It's extremely important with a lot of implications, and that's all I was trying to do is understand. That's all.
Where do we think that AMT deviated from the 5-year program, this, to this?
Chris may know.
It goes back.
And she wasn't at the last
Interject
meeting,
one thing.
otherwise she might have been there.
The one thing that I can interject is in all the budget discussions, Councilman Salameo was talking about the fact that we would have approximately $140,000 to $150,000 from Powell Bill Fund, and then we have, to Mary's point, the leftover park money, not leftover, but we were paying debt service on the park, and we were no longer going to be paying debt, well, that was in 1 year. In 2 years, it was more than that, or in a full year, that's
So
a half
whatever
a
we
year.
were paying towards
Right.
mortgage would be paid.
Yes.
Right.
130.
Right, so what we weren't paying toward the debt service, we would now put towards roads. So you would add the Powell Bill money and the debt service money, and you'd add them together, and it was approximately 300,000. So they, somewhere along the way, council said, ask AMT to look at what the cost of all the roads are in our pavement condition survey, and cost them out based on the DOT costs, like partnering with DOT, cost them out, and come up with how could you, what would that look like, basically? And so what it looked like was a 4-year plan, because if you look at that pavement condition survey where they added the cost to it and split it out by year, they basically tried to estimate $300,000 in each year, and when they were done, it was over 4 years.
Okay,
Now,
so this
what-
is the part that I get confused about. That's helpful. But, I wasn't here.
She can
I'm
ask
gonna
the
forget, and it is a finance question. I was under the impression, and I concede this is an impression, which is why I kind of like a document. I thought that that money that was going to go, that was no longer going to debt service, that would be the extent of our contribution every year. And I don't know the difference. Was that decision made to put in 300,000 every
Well,
year?
which is
Well, you
combined
have
with Powerball,
Powerball
we have to
The
use.
POW bill every year comes in and it grows as we take over more mileage of roads. That POW bill changes every year, so we get more and more every year. This year we.
So that's a yes in a sense. It was an inadvertent decision to spend 300,000
Yeah,
every year.
Combine the two.
Yes.
Well,
That's
no,
what we would
no,
probably
that's
do.
what I mean.
It was
No,
conscious.
back up, it wasn't 300, and it wasn't 400, it was roughly 260. It was 130 plus, 130, our POW bill is 136.
Somehow we said we had about 300. I just remember that number where we directed
Well,
them,
it was the two numbers, it was
like 140
the
in
park
Powell.
service, which was
170.
130.
You just said 170.
Yeah, I'm not, I'd have to look. I
It
don't
was,
remember.
no, I remember, it was around 130
Okay.
in park interest. And then POW bill is somewhere around 136,
142 this year.
142 this year. So just so everyone's clear, taking over the
Yeah,
roads,
I'm-
it
I'm
goes
sure.
up very small, it's incremental. The bigger number, when you read the statute, is population. So when we take over 3 miles of
It
roads,
increases a little bit every time.
It's not.
when we first started in POW, it was 136, now it's 142. So we picked up $6,000 after picking up Canterville, Weddington Chase, and then all the new subdivisions.
The 142 doesn't even reflect that. It still reflects our 1.2 miles. It was based on last
Okay.
year. We
Okay.
haven't actually accepted those yet.
Yeah, I think the most you get is in the,
But the following year
25%,
will reflect that?
75% is population. Something-
It's on one of the sheets that have been passed
formula.
out
Yeah,
over
the
time.
great
is the
majority is from
formula.
population.
But either way, do we have a policy saying like this amount?
No,
Or
it
is
was,
that
she's
flexible?
right, it was
It was a
Ron's thing where he
discussion.
was like, we got about 260 a year, doesn't mean we have to do it every year, or, you know,
I mean,
we're gonna do
There was
it.
money in
Well,
capital
just-
funds and stuff like that.
Well,
Yeah.
and then, can I just add one more thing? What happened then is, we said we have, it got rounded up to 300, but then what happened is DOT said, well, it was that, what Joe said before, if you start doing the roads, then DOT would be more apt to partner with you and do some of the roads, and so it was trying to combine, like, to benefit from what DOT would do, plus what we could afford to do, and do an entire neighborhood at once, so that we weren't going into a
had
neighborhood
all
3
these
times.
But that was the goal too,
So can I ask
is
a
to do
question?
neighborhoods all at once.
It was the goal,
Starting with
but
his.
not the program.
Right.
Right.
Right,
But-
it was the goal.
In fairness to the mayor, it does say that in the policy. It does
Yeah.
say, right?
When we can.
But what I'm trying to understand then is if the policy doesn't make reference to an amount, so that sounds like every year,
That was our.
How-
that
how
was
did you
our
all
loose-
decide?
That was
It came
like
up
loose
during the-
direction to the A&T,
During the budget,
was keep us within 3 miles. Yeah, we talked about it during budget discussion.
3 miles a year.
To keep it under 3 miles, the number was 260.
That being said, that would make it a 10-year program for us if we have 30 miles.
so,
And that's where we ended up there, with
But-
this 10-year idea. 4 years, where that came from.
Can I
Yeah,
tell
go
you?
it was the
Yeah.
math.
So you actually discussed this at one of the last meetings where you made the assumption that it just never got changed from the bond discussions.
That was my thought, that back when Robin was here, it went before you did interim administrator. We had these bond discussions, and my thought was it was possible that this shifting to a 4-year plan had to do with the bond, but we never approved the bond process.
I think that's exactly what happened because I went and pulled some emails from
Well, the
May.
bond was, you remember the bond thing?
Yeah, no, we were
No, that was
pursuing
just
the bond.
this past May.
So,
That was only a year ago.
so
That
that,
was, oh.
yeah, May
Was Robin
May
here for that?
2018.
what's the bond issue?
We were
So-
gonna issue
We
bonds
talked
to pay
about
road roads at one time.
possibly doing a bond, but the math wasn't working.
So
The idea was to do a
Paying
bunch-
for it, like we paid for the park. You
So
do
go ahead.
whatever, do it all at once. And basically, it was something that we were gonna present to them. But then, I think AMT, correct me if I'm wrong, got in and said, well, you can do that, but you also have DOT willing
Yeah, we
to
won't leverage DOT's willing to.
spend.
Yeah.
Oh.
They're supposed to do it anyway. It's their roads, they're supposed to do it.
so anyways,
Okay, so yeah, let me hear what
so the email that was received was back in May, and it was sent to Chris, and it was talking about, here's the estimates for bond discussion. And I think what's happened is during that time, I came in the end of June, and the transition with staff just didn't pick up on the fact that it was a bond discussion, and the 4-year plan therefore never got changed. I think that's exactly what happened.
Okay, so there's, I mean,
There's no way we
obviously,
would've
we
known
can
that.
continue to like go round and round and round about what happened and what needs to happen next. I feel like we need to change our policy because AMT, I mean, I'm assuming they had a copy of this, but they weren't
That's what I'm
following
trying to
it.
figure out.
So then they
Them
changed
too.
it.
Hello.
We're good now.
I'm sorry, I was on 200 South.
No, it's okay.
All right.
Most of it probably got a little bit heated and exchanges and stuff like that, but we took a recess and we're
Most of them were.
I must have left too.
fairly,
Thank you.
we are civil.
We're good.
Everybody
Just
still
take
here?
out the new beach?
Yeah.
No, most of it, so this is
paper
most of
clipped us
it,
like
just a few,
Everybody
yeah, so that's.
Are our tires all still up?
Can you check that for us?
Check the line, call it in.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming out.
Thank you.
So back in,
Check the response time, but.
back in back in the September meeting, this was passed out.
Yep.
This was probably my 3rd meeting, I believe.
Just-
So this was my first time seeing this.
That was my first time seeing it too. I think.
This is what I was under the impression that you all had advised AMT to do. And so therefore, I presented this to you all
Yeah.
back in September. You all approved it.
Yep.
We said that.
That's the numbers on it too, right?
It has
Not
the
that
num- it has
not
the
that I was
numbers on
looking
it.
at that. I
It
was
does have the numbers
Okay.
with the estimates for Firethorn in there as well. So
Yep.
that was received back in 2018. I'm trying to fast forward to what do we do now. So I'm just letting you know that this was adopted then, but back in February this
So wait,
past.
hold on.
Yeah.
So wait, we adopted this?
Well, that's
Or
where I
we
get
approved
confused.
I'm getting to that
I'm
now.
sorry.
So this is what y'all adopted in September
Okay.
of last year.
What did we
This
adopt?
number?
Yeah. that's
This is
fine.
the pavement condition index with a sample 4-year road program, and I had advised at that time that we would only be focusing on 2019, which was the Providence Estates, Providence Ridge, Beechwood, Firethorn, if that's what DOT was gonna put on their list. Y'all said, okay, sounds great.
Oh, yeah,
And
yeah,
so
okay.
then
And then that's when
DOT
that number changed because of inflation.
Correct.
I got it. I remember
So
that.
then,
Or that number.
since then, Chris and I have sat down, analyzed the finances of this 4-year plan, because this is what we thought was legit. This is the plan that we thought y'all had. It doesn't make sense financially. So that's where we pitched the idea, and I'm trying to reconcile the dates in my head. I think the first time we actually talked about this was at the retreat. Everybody seemed to be okay with changing it from 4 years to 8 or 10.
Yep.
Whatever we decided. I then actually, if I remember correctly, y'all approved this at the February 28th meeting, I believe.
We adopted this. So wait, we adopted this in September?
Correct.
Okay, so can I just tell you that, for the disclaimer, that each one of these introductions of this made me more and more anxious, only because,
This,
yes, because I knew that this was a rating thing from way back, that's why I remembered it, but I never understood this to be the policy for doing the roads. And that's what I was trying my best to figure out, right? So I just want to say on record that when we accepted this, I really didn't even know what we were accepting. I thought, are we accepting the ratings, the engineer's ratings, or are we accepting
Oh, it was
the
probably
policy?
this
What are we accepting?
on the back. Flip it. Yeah, so, nope. Hold on. Let's see. Sample 4-year road program, and
Oh.
this is the date, and then the date, and then the date. So would that mean that this supersedes what we had? I mean, I would assume so, right? Because this is more recent.
Well, can I add one more thing? Because I'm glad
Yeah.
you pointed that out to me. But because now I'm remembering, this is actually what you sent me, remember 2 weeks beforehand? Now I recognize this. You said, okay, well, we're adopting this. And then it was in the packet, right? And I said, well, how come this says Providence Ridge?
and it wasn't on
And in the packet, it doesn't say Providence Ridge. And that's when there was like, it's just like question after question. And that's where I got lost yet again. Because I was like, okay, so I'm getting ready to make my vote to adopt the contract. And then the contract didn't reflect this sheet.
Because they
Because
took
they took it
it
out.
off.
Because it was based on, DOT was negotiating.
So I think
AMT and DOT were negotiating.
And see, here's the thing with the AMT negotiations. My belief was that they would be negotiating for roads that were at least as low as 70. So, you
That's
know,
what I
and I've never said anyone here pick Firethorn. My problem is you've got roads in the 90s and 80s. I don't understand why they're not negotiating for like Marvin Creek where you pull in the roundabout and it's all messed up.
Well, and that's, and I don't disagree with what you're saying, but when, again, I'm gonna go back to when I started, they said they pick roads that are really bad, and then they pick roads that aren't so bad, because it totally offset, yes, it balances out. So then they're not spending a whole bunch, or we collectively, between the two of us, are not spending a whole bunch of money in one plop. Is that not right?
That's how I
But-
read it.
And then-
My understanding, and I'm sorry only because it's important, was that we were taking crappy roads, but we were taking good roads, but I thought the good roads were the new roads. We were taking anything new that came along.
I remember
No, it was
hearing that too.
What?
No,
I mean,
we had to
yes,
take,
we
we had
are
to take the
doing
new
that.
We
road.
have to take, we
But
have
I
to.
thought that was
Like
the
Marvin
deal.
Creek was on there. I was
No.
like, why is Marvin Creek on there?
Because
That's what I remember now.
Because I don't think all of Canterfield was like really bad. Like I know that there was a lot of really bad stuff over in Weddington Chase. It was all wonky, and I know Oak Brook was bad. But I don't think Canterfield was as bad. I mean, yes, I know the ratings were whatever they
An
were,
average of 70.
but they weren't as bad. Now, I don't, you know, if you're looking at this, you know, there's a whole bunch of roads in Firethorn that are, you know, 70, 60. And the funny thing is, they're paying for a road in Firethorn that is a,
South Carolina Road?
no. That is a,
Already owned by us?
no, it's a 95 rating, and they're paying for
Right.
it.
That's what I didn't
But not
understand.
Berwick, that was weird.
Right, so I think that they are, what I was told when I started was that between the three subdivisions of Canterfield, Weddington Chase, and Oak Brook, was that some of those were worse than others, and they were balancing it out, so it all kind of evened out. That's what I was told, and I feel like that's what's happened again, but,
And for the record, I was completely surprised to see Firethorn on the list when it came on the list. I was surprised because I thought, well, we did just bring them up to their standards, but to Kim's point, I always thought that this was not gonna be something that we could just go pick a road that's bad, fix it, and then that technically would put that neighborhood at a higher level, so you're really never doing neighborhoods as a whole. But I thought that was always their plan. You're gonna have some really bad roads, and then some of the roads we pick are, some will need to be fixed, some not, but they get done because they're there, that's how their process is. And we certainly, not knowing the road business, we certainly weren't, I don't want to be dictating to them where to move their people and their machines and stuff like that. We were clearly taking advantage of them being in certain areas at certain times and saying, okay, and just leaving it, again, arm's length up to AMT, former NCDOT people, and NCDOT to make that decision. But I thought we always had kind of a number that wherever it came from, whether it was,
I thought it was 260.
Yeah.
I didn't know it was 380.
No, I mean,
Well, it wasn't
just as a aside, I mean, I had a conversation with Ryan yesterday, and he did say 300. That's the number he gave me.
So 300, it's in between the two.
Yeah.
And I don't care what it is,
I
I just
thought it
wanted to
was
know what it
260,
was, like
388.
where and when. Okay.
well, and I think they were shooting for 300, but with inflation costs, they've gone up, and some other costs you said, like.
Yeah, but so shouldn't we reconsider that when it's biting into the budget, $88,000, $88,000? Shouldn't that be something we talk about and reconsider? Like, I don't know, it just.
Well, I think that's what we were supposed to do.
Yeah. So can I tell you where I think I'm at on moving forward, and everyone can chime in? Let's put the private versus
Yeah,
public
let's-
aside for a minute.
Agreed.
Just numbers, just scale, just all this information. I'm willing to have a special meeting so that we don't completely derail DOT. Sounds like Lee hasn't even got back to you yet.
No, but I have sent him an official.
My goal would be, my hope would be that we could all agree to try to get all of this information into a Christine-style palatable spreadsheet, all in one place, instead of
Like a
these.
booklet almost? Like a
Mhm.
roads manual booklet or something?
I don't wanna go complicated with it, whatever
Just it's
puts
updated
all
all
the
the time.
information, including the dollar amount, the
Bless you.
proposed, whatever's proposed. Whether or not we do want this to be an off year budget-wise, and that's a conversation for you two. And then present it to us at a special meeting and say, here's, and maybe we get A&T there, again,
Bless
and
you.
say, this is why DOT wants us to do Firethorn. This is why the numbers make sense, but if we're gonna do it this year, what's the plan for next year? Because if we're only wanting to spend 300 or less, or if we're going to the on-off year, we need to have a plan for next year. If we're gonna bite the bullet this year, we need to have a plan for next year.
Which should be nothing.
It should be an
Which
off
should be
year,
enough.
What should be done?
Be off.
because we talked about that.
Whatever that is, but I don't want to be asked on the day of a work session with, I know that you guys dispense the information, but it's my own fault that I can't read, I can remember meetings when we talked about the PAL stuff, but I can't by myself put all this information together in one place. And then things like the emails, well, how did we come to this? Now you have it. That would have been great to know last meeting, which I didn't know I know you didn't know those questions would be asked. You weren't here.
Right.
But since we're having meetings in the office, the more information you all have out, ready to anticipate whatever questions may come up, great. But more importantly, if we could get this into one report, hold a special meeting next week. I'm available if anyone else is,
I gotta,
whatever it takes.
I gotta look one thing, because we are,
So, can I ask a quick question? I mean, I'm not,
Yeah, no, that's sort
I'm
of-
fine with that. Like, if that's what we need to do to get everybody comfortable and get everybody on the same page, because I've seen this, I've seen this, I've seen this. I mean, I've seen that. I mean, I knew that the roads were gonna cost 388 because I've seen both of these. I have not seen this one. But my question is, for the, yeah, this one. So, Christina, this is for you. Did we adopt this as our policy?
it wasn't the policy, but it was just the plan.
It was, okay, so we adopted this plan. So basically, we need to change our policy.
Correct.
Okay,
Which has
so,
been kind of Mary's point the whole time.
right, so, which I don't disagree with that. I mean, if we
just
have
wanna
a
know
policy,
what
we
our
need
problem
to.
is-
Follow it, that's all.
You do it while they're in the middle of, they've already started their process, because I think with the year on,
They're
year
still
off.
out there. I'm doing a porch in Providence Estates, and they're still out there marking, so just so you know.
No,
we're
I
not
know, I
ready.
know.
Hold on.
No.
So, yes, I think we have to redo the policy, but I think we continue to talk about this and make a decision about this at a special meeting. But we need to redo the policy, and the policy can't be so black and white as these are the roads. I'm not saying these particularly, but it needs to be, these are the roads for 2019. In 2020, we will revisit. In 2021, we will revisit, or whatever the policy is gonna say. I just don't think it can be as set in stone in this, because clearly AMT and DOT changed their minds and gave us this.
Christina, what was evidently there was some sort of rush to get it done at the,
Yeah.
Because they wanna start
Water.
paving.
What was all the
what was
rush?
the rush
Because they
from
wanna start
DOT? Was
paving.
the DOT pushing us on it?
So I had it on the,
That's
I
what
got
I was
the
thinking.
See,
contract
the crowd
on,
misses all this part, just so you know. The
I got-
calm, collected conversation, they're all gone now. Go ahead.
I got the contract in the end of January. It's the very first meeting we had, I put the contract on the agenda, which is the exhibits that you're holding up with the prices.
These ones.
Yeah, no, I'm not questioning you, I'm just
This
questioning,
one.
Yeah.
Well,
was DOT the one that was
or-
pushing it?
So
I know.
the letter that we got
Exactly.
on, I think it,
That was in the
don't quote me on
contract,
these dates, but I think it was January 23rd. In the letter, it said we had 30 days to execute the agreement.
Right, which is why
We extended
we
it,
made a decision, we were forced to make a decision.
So I put it on the
Right.
very next agenda that we had.
but we had to extend it.
And then there were some issues with the private roads that we were trying to research and trying to figure it out as
So-
fast as we could.
Okay,
They extended it another 30 days to allow us more time to finish doing the research, which is what I'm trying to look up on my phone right now because I've already asked for that 30-day extension. I don't know if they will give us another one.
I guess my concern a little bit is, NCDOT here is ponying up $754,000. As a government agency, they have to
Where?
allocate that money, they've
Yeah.
already allocated that money somehow. if we tell them we don't want it,
Oh,
that's gonna go somewhere else. They're gonna move that somewhere else.
which ones?
I'm just concerned that, next time we go to these roads, they're not gonna give us that kind of, we're getting basically 75% of the cost here.
Okay, thank you.
But these are questions that we deserve answers to.
The,
Right.
the public platted,
Well,
No.
first,
That answer's been given.
what answer's been given?
The public, how it's plotted.
That's not what he just said.
No, that's what Christina said.
I don't, what,
I'm sorry, I thought I was the one talking and the attorney chimed in. Nick said DOT could potentially give the fund,
75%.
reallocate the funds somewhere
Right,
else.
right.
Those are the questions that I would want to know from, as I finish my sentence, from Phillips Moxley or Lee Ainsworth. Why do we have to do 80 and 90 routes? Can we do the ones that need more help now, this year, and do the 80 and 90 sport roads the year after next? We don't have those answers. So when we're being asked in a meeting to make decisions on policy,
Today, yeah.
But
Well, yeah, I'm just, again, and I have no factual thing behind it, but my theory would be that they're doing 80 and 90% roads because they're picking up 40% roads, and they're gonna do some that are easier for them, and they're not gonna be as.
that's what I would like to hear from
We-
AMT. yes.
That's right.
But we don't have that road expert here, so now we're asking for more delays, more meetings, which is fine. I mean, we can get the information or however they came to whatever they got, but they're not allocating that $750,000 just a month or two ago. This was, for all I know, it could be 6 months ago that they're allocating. That's what they're projecting things years down the road for the widening of Providence. They don't want to do neighborhood roads. The fact that we're taking on neighborhood roads, they're now taking some of that funding that would have never gone to neighborhoods because they want nothing more to get rid of those roads, and they're applying it, but they're not doing it just yesterday.
Point of
They've done it a
information.
while ago.
They're doing it because they want, you're skipping a huge point. And Nick, you know this because you were there too. They're doing it because they want rid of them. They want us
Oh,
to
I
take
agree.
them.
Absolutely,
I
We all agree on
Yes.
that.
absolutely.
Wouldn't they want us to take the worst ones?
Well.
But they have to bring them up to standard
They have to
first.
bring them to their
Joe
standard.
just,
Our
Joe
standard.
just said they weren't previously gonna do it and the money could go away. Their incentive for this whole thing, the whole reason there's PAL bill funds, the whole reason DOT is teaming, the whole reason they're negotiating is because they want rid of the roads. They don't care which ones they are. To a DOT, team leader or whatever they're called, division head, he sees it as miles. He's getting a report of miles. And I'm no expert, but that
Not
follows the
just miles,
logic.
but he's looking at how much work,
I mean, a road that's gonna cost them
what it's gonna cost.
100,000 a mile,
Based
it's gonna
on,
cost them 40,000 a mile, he's gonna pick them.
But keep in mind, they haven't come out and done the road analysis, A&T did it for us.
So do
But
they
they
do
want to
another
get
one?
So they're
they're
based on
working.
A&T's recommendations,
Right.
and part of our questions were last meeting is, okay, so they're based on an A&T recommendation, why is A&T recommending? Why?
that's what we're paying them to do.
But it's that why we never
Right.
got.
And
We didn't
the
answer why.
the other question I have is, I mean, I don't know how it's gonna sound, but we've done plenty of roads that have been 90 and above in Canterfield and Wedding J's and other places.
Oh.
But we've never had an issue with doing them there, so I mean, I don't know what's the thing with Firestone that we,
Well,
you know,
let's check the facts. Where's the original data sheet?
I'll tell you what started it for me. It was not
Well, hold
who
on.
was next. Well, let me answer two. I have a right to answer his question. For me, it was what happened to Providence Ridge, and nobody could answer that.
Yeah.
Because Providence Ridge, at the time, because Providence Ridge on that sheet was rating lower. Like, you know how it almost seemed for a while you guys were like taking the worst road and then doing that subdivision of that road, right? That's kind of what it seemed like. You were like saying, okay, well, Weddington Chase, Woodmont had the worst road, so we're gonna do Woodmont, and we're gonna do all the subdivisions. That's what it seemed like you all were doing.
I think-
So let me just explain this. So then I was looking at the chart, and I was just like, okay, well, the next worst roads are in Providence Ridge, so we're gonna do Providence Ridge, right? It was on one sheet that we were going to, but then the contract out didn't have Providence Ridge on it at all. And so this is where started another set of questions as to, like, how is all of this moving?
Right, but
Just want you to know.
These weren't decisions that council made. We relied on AMT and CDOT.
But nobody
We
said
wanted
that.
to stay out of, we
We
didn't
don't
want to
have
be
a
involved in it
department
at all.
head that's gonna manage all that, and certainly we're not putting that on Christina. We are relying on AMT to make, they're supposed to partner with us because we're paying them, and because they have such good connections with DOT, that was the whole thing, and that's what you get at 5 cents. You don't get a roads department manager that can ask all those questions that we can have at this table to have them answer it. It's a sort of a leap of faith because we've chosen that engineering firm to do the best of what works out, and whether it's 8-year program, 4-year program, 20-year program, and plus if we're gonna have the year on, year off, does that not add more money to the kitty for that? So we're at 388 this year, but next year we're nothing, but we still get 140 plus we figured $300,000. So that following year technically would be 600,000 should be available.
And I get all that,
We've
but
been doing 300,000 at a time.
but at the end of the day, we have AMT making these decisions or whatever. But we're still accountable if a policy looks that fluid, that with every year and every administration, something changes. It ends up looking as if the road policy and the road resurfacing program is in place for somebody else's purposes besides real, true improvement of the community. I hate to say that, but that's true. And I'll concede, that's one of the reasons I wanted nothing to do with Canterfield Creek. Wasn't even too sure about the way it was being handled for Wellington Chase. And I felt like here we were I'm still trying to figure out how were these decisions being made. So if we formulate a new policy, which I think is the right thing to do, and I think there even needs to be more distance between the council, there also needs to be an accountability report. I guess if the engineers are the ones managing it, they should be coming to us and telling us what happened in their meetings and their
A
negotiations.
presentation, right?
Right, well, or
I mean,
even
we're
just
not
a
gonna
report.
decide, but
I'll
just
read it,
Give us a
yeah.
presentation.
But they did answer the question when we had neighbors saying, why were their roads going first? Because I looked at them from my eyes, I did not have an answer for them. So we said,
And I
hey,
did, yeah.
meet with DOT, and I think we gave them that opportunity to meet with, not DOT, but AMT. And some took advantage of that, or Ron may have met with them and explained it and stuff, but I was staying as far away as I could because I certainly couldn't justify it.
But
Why
it's up
it
to
was
the
happening,
council
but
to
it
do
happened and it's the policy that's been in place, so
We
that's
all
one
wanted
of
to
the.
avoid this very
Exactly.
situation.
I agree, I
But just
agree.
understand two things. One is, somebody wound these people up needlessly because all we asked was that their HOAs come in. Could have been done in a day. I mean, can we all concede the HOAs could have come in and just had the conversation, hey, we're cool with it.
Well, the
But
last
that- but
thing though
that's-
that somebody said to me was, well, yeah, but so you want us to pay to have a plat done? So,
Well, to me, that, again,
I don't know.
to me, that's now a different topic. Now we're talking about state roads, not state roads.
Yeah.
That
Okay, so-
portion of it
Well,
is different.
I wasn't trying to make that leap yet. I was just saying that
If that wasn't the purpose of, we
We
didn't come
wouldn't-
into a meeting with anything in mind and choosing one over the other. That was right? That's
our original goal was to keep an arm's distance, let AMT make the decisions. But they do need to explain the decisions, either in a report or a presentation.
Mhm.
That would make sense, so the public knows, it's transparent. But aside from that, these folks getting wound up needlessly didn't serve anybody. I don't know whose idea it was to get them going. I don't know if it was Jones, because he and his wife made eye contact with me when I sat there and I said, look, I don't know why a road like Heritage Oaks got passed over. This was several meetings ago. And in this meeting, he said, you ought to remember it. Bullshit. I said it, it's on audio. And then he also said, oh, this other guy said he did not know, the guy that was so angry, did you know he didn't know that what we were talking about is the village of Marvin taking the road? He thought it
Yeah,
was
that's what I was
DOT.
realizing when he was talking.
So
I was like,
someone wound
wait
these
a minute.
folks up with inadequate information.
Yeah,
It's Marvin taking their road, it's not DOT.
Right.
So someone at least needs to tell you, even if we're gonna do it without
you really
their
want.
permission, shouldn't they be told? Hey, guess what? Your roads right now according to the attorney or DOT, but we'll pay them, they become Village of Marvin.
Exactly.
I can sort of agree with that, except that if they're DOT roads, they don't own the roads anyway, so what do we have to tell them for? I mean, it's not like
Well,
the private roads,
that's how
we're
you like
taking a
doing
private road,
things.
this is a DOT,
Yeah, but we're
it's a DOT
accepting
road.
them.
If
That's the
how you like
part.
doing it, that's fine.
Why would we
But some
accept
of the
something if
people-
we're not sure of it?
Well, they don't-
That's what
but
I
it says
said.
they
Some
don't
people
own-
do honestly think
NCDOT
they're on
might be.
private roads. I personally like knowing my land goes to the middle of the road. Some of these folks, and I think the reason some of these folks are so angered is there's somebody in that subdivision that doesn't want to be part of a DOT road for
Yeah,
some reason.
Right,
We don't
but
know
I'm
what
saying,
that
right
reason
now, right
is.
now, you own the,
I own to
roads
the
and that.
middle.
but if DOT had made that a DOT road, you'd have nothing to say about it. We wouldn't be taking it from
No,
you.
Nick, that's not correct. It's deeded to the homeowner.
DOT has to get an
There's an
easement
easement
from
that
But
allows
how
each of
did they
those
get a state
homeowners,
route?
let me finish. There's an easement that allows each of those homeowners to pass over that private land. But the private land is deeded private to a person. NCDOT can't just jump in and take private land away. The easement is only there for the people internal to that subdivision, not to anybody external. The minute it becomes an NCDOT road, first you have to say, yeah, we're gonna offer this to the public,
Right.
right? That's a public acceptance. Then there needs to be an acceptance of the offer of public dedication, right? And that can be either NCDOT, or it can be Marvin, or the
But we're
village.
talking here, from what I understand of what they said,
That's what they did.
these
years
have been
ago.
20 years that they've been in
I checked,
DOT
it's
roads.
over 1975 is the same rule. Every change, and I know Melanie Cox is gonna disagree with me because she's gonna say that it's about acceptance.
Which is
But it
okay. I'm
says,
willing to concede
every
both
change
girls.
to a road, new road, or any change to a road says that you need to change the plat. Why? Because again, it's a private road issue. It's not just someone sitting out there with a piece of rural land. They're in a subdivision, and that entire subdivision was approved together. And each one of those people within that subdivision have a right to the way the roads and the easement that's
So-
inside that subdivision.
So let me ask, how did they get, because they did not get 100%, how did they get Providence Down South to turn that road over and make it gated? How did they get that to happen?
They abandoned it.
Well, but the homeowner has his own plat. That was always the argument at Firethorn when we talked about putting a gate. I says, no, everyone has their own. When I have my deed, it says this is supposed to be, then it said it was always supposed to be deeded to a state road. It was just, the state just doesn't automatically take it over. They basically said to us, no, before we take it over, we want you to bring it up to our own standards.
Right.
We did that, we paid for it, then it was turned over. So it became a state, there was a number to this, all the roads in Firethorn, there's a state road number. That's what exists, there is a state road number assigned to that neighborhood. How did they get it?
I can tell you my theory. I don't know. I honestly don't know, and I'll tell you why. Because unless the law clearly states, unless there is an offer of public dedication, it cannot be accepted by a public entity. So if there is no clear offer of a public dedication, it's impossible for the village or the state to accept that road. That's all I can tell you. Now, in the case of Providence, they abandoned those roads. They didn't even, they collectively decided to abandon the public dedication.
But they didn't do it 100%. You have a person inside.
That's something I don't
But
understand.
yeah, me
I
either,
still
and I
don't
said,
think-
look,
Right.
you guys can do it, but
Honestly?
there were 30 some homes that basically said, no, we're not gonna
So-
abandon it, but it happened.
I don't want to state a name, but right now, ever since 2016, the person at NCDOT who runs Division 10 has made all kinds of decisions counter to what I know to be the absolute truth. So I would refer all of us to, and that's what I said at that meeting. I would like to talk to, what's his name? Roddenberry, I forget now his first name, in Raleigh, who's I think the only person I've come across who understands state roads, deeds, and public and private right of way. So we need to go to someone who actually knows the law.
No, from what
I know the law.
from what I understand, and or from what I received, I guess, an email or whatever. I mean, a village attorney has said that.
Don't get me
Our
started.
prior village attorney has said that. the Board of Adjustment attorney has said. So we have 3 attorneys, not related to each other, and not even worked together, never been seen, probably didn't even know each other.
I disagree.
Well,
And
again.
you don't have to, you can all vote me down, but I promise you that you can't just go and accept a road that has not been offered for public dedication. And if that road since then has been attached to a plat that has been sold, there are, in the last 15 years, 68 people in Providence Estates have purchased a lot within Providence Estates with their covenants attached, saying that their roads are private, and their plat attached, saying that that road is private. Hey, maybe somewhere you can argue that. I don't want the village to be the one who's arguing that, because I don't think we have the money or the resources. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying I know 100% that there isn't some way to figure this out, but I know enough to know I don't want to take on that responsibility until someone who clearly can justify that can tell me absolutely that that road has been deeded, offered to the public for dedication. I haven't received that information.
At the end of the
I'm just
day,
one
to
person,
the
you
next
don't have
point,
to
I'm gonna
agree.
let you speak, because you have your hand up, I said.
I do have my hand up.
Okay.
So before we move on to the public versus private, because that's gonna be a whole nother can of worms, can we make a decision what we're gonna do about telling DOT either we're gonna pave or we're not gonna pave? That is the question.
Kim, do you think we should first decide whether we want this to be an on-year or an off-year? That's kind of the big decision first.
So-
Because I don't know if Chris, because we talked about it
Yeah.
having this off-year thing.
Yeah. I
The
always,
money's there.
I always assumed this was an on-year because after re-looking at this, I remember seeing these. So I always thought that this year was an on-year, next year was an off-year, it was an on-year, it was an off-year.
Christina, do we need, is the money available or do we need it somewhere else?
It's in the capital project for roads right now.
So we all agree this can be, if we all decide to move forward, can be an on-year.
We do a quick
Which-
straw poll vote and see. I think it's an on-year, because we talked about it going to back, but then we just had that discussion recently.
Well, I guess it's really not a decision. If they say the funds are available. So I want to get that passed as,
I think funds are
Can we-
available.
It's already budgeted for this year.
It's already
Budgeted.
budgeted, it's in there. I think we should keep it as an on-year because again, after I saw this again, I've seen this before. I assumed that this was an on-year. I knew that it was 388, I knew we were shooting for 300. Christina said that, hey, we went over budget a little bit because of inflation. I was fine with that. And again, when I said this last meeting, I don't wanna be, picking and choosing who gets done and who doesn't get done. This is what we were given by AMT and DOT. I think we should approve this and say, yes, go on and pave every single one of these roads. With the caveat of, we gotta figure out the public versus private thing.
Yeah.
Cause I don't wanna misstep there. I'm not saying that, information that we have been given is not accurate. I'm just saying we need to make sure that we're doing what we need to do. But I do think that we need to say, yes, we'll pave everything and we'll let you know about whether we're gonna take them in or not.
Going forward. You had a comment on what the law
Sorry.
is.
Hold on, can we make a decision about this first before we move on to public versus private?
Yeah,
What-
is there a motion? Or
So
do we
what's
just,
the-
is it a straw poll vote?
No, I'll make a motion
what's the
to,
decision?
that we resurface Providence Estates, Beechwood, Firethorn, Heritage Oak, and Woodland Forest. And we will take in all of the public roads.
Wait,
I don't know.
Except that was the problem where we got stuck, because the agreement says, the way the agreement was worded, that's why I was
Well,
frantic, because
but-
right?
but
It says we have to accept the roads.
Yes.
Right, but it took out, but what we took out was all of Firethorn.
So, I mean, just.
And now we said DOT go and pave every road in Marvin if you want
Right, so
to.
just as a.
That was about money, for me,
A
because I
quick-
didn't know how we got to 388,000.
A quick question, this is, again, I'm stupid, so I don't know. But if NCDOT tells us it's their road, what's our legal liability? And if we take it and say, they told us it's their road,
Because there's private people within those roads.
But I'm saying, they'd have recourse to NCDOT, not to us.
How not? It would be a
Well,
public
once
road at that
we
point.
take it-
It's a public road now, though.
It's a
Yes,
public
but we
road,
would be
isn't it?
maintaining it. It would become our road, and anything we did to it, whether the paving is wrong, the curb and gutter was wrong, whatever else that happens on that road, we have a liability for at that point.
Well, yeah, I
Would
mean,
you
that's-
maintain it?
yeah,
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, but I'm saying as far as us taking it or,
Yeah, but you
maintaining
can't
it.
separate the two. You can't say, well, we'll accept it, but ignore the fact that everything within that road then is we're liable for. How do you do that?
Let me ask this question, I don't mean
I
to
didn't
sound,
understand the
I don't
question.
mean, I don't mean to sound, like this is, but at the end of the day, we have insurance for legal issues
my
like
goodness.
this, right? Do we not? So,
Yeah, I don't know.
would that be covered under it if we
I'd have
were to
to-
get sued by an individual that's saying that you took my roads over and you did that wrong, so I'm asking.
Right, but we're not taking it from the individual, we're taking it from NCDOT.
They did
We
that.
don't
So
know.
then the lawsuit would, people have the shotgun
I think
mentality,
they
they
would
try to
have to
sue
bring
everybody.
NCDOT in as a party, right?
Okay.
If
So
not,
that-
if not, we would bring.
I just
in
want
a
to get to the
third-party
litigation
I
issue that
understand
we're all
that. What
concerned
was your
about.
question before? I
But
didn't
Joe's
understand
question
what-
was,
No, that's a good question.
do we have risk?
I don't believe there's any risk in taking on any NCDOT road, but for you don't pave it correctly and someone falls, like those types
Well,
of
no,
risks.
But we were
I'm
not that
there's
with
no-
you
I'm not
being
That's why I
concerned
asked that
about any
question.
risk
What did
or,
we learn
like,
after
take-
the
taking
Except
private
constitutionally,
property. I'm not concerned about
and all
anything
this-
like that. 'cause
Well,
I think
that's
it's
okay. You
done
don't have to
for
be
NCDOT.
concerned. It's my job to be
Can
concerned.
I go back to the last meeting, which you weren't at, Nick, and that was, I thought that, we were asked to make a decision on policy, so we did. But we did say, talk to Lee Ainsworth about whether or not they would just go ahead and do them. And he's aware that we've had issues, everyone doesn't agree. Now, keep in mind, it's not Mary and Cox disagreeing, the landowners in there don't agree.
That's right.
That's the thing that everyone keeps skipping over.
I can show
Those
you
people
people
don't
who
agree.
don't want anyone to accept their roads.
And those are the people
go ahead,
that
do
we're
it.
supposed to protect. The second thing we asked for was just to talk to the HOAs. Because if you talk to them, they're like, you know what, we all had a party last week, it's all good, look, everyone understands these are DOT roads, there's no problem.
Yeah, but I'm saying, so they don't want anybody to touch their roads. But if NCDOT already has the road, they don't have the road anymore. It's NCDOT's road now.
Do
And they haven't
This
afforded
is
since
where,
then.
this is where you have people
There
who,
was an acceptance?
no, there's a
You
bunch
signed
of,
a plat in 2013.
Who
saying
signed the
that
plat?
I mean, not a plat, the PAL bill policy map, and you signed it saying, hey, these are state maintained roads. It was the last page, one of the last pages of my packet. Village of Marvin PAL bill map, July 2013.
I signed it?
Yes, as clerk. And
Was there
Ron's.
Oh, wait a second, I sign what the council approves as a clerk. I don't use my discretion.
Well, it was signed by council in 2013 that these roads were state maintained roads.
That's fine, but
So
is it,
can
was it offered and accepted?
Yeah.
Did the state take it illegally?
I need, so,
There's an implied acceptance.
Hold on.
Is that-
No, I'm sorry, Melanie, you're wrong. No, this point of
I'm not
information,
wrong.
there's no implied acceptance unless it's been offered. You cannot, there's only, implied acceptance only occurs once there's been an offer of dedication.
Otherwise it's theft.
Period.
I don't think it
Otherwise it's theft.
Otherwise, it's private. You've got to have an offer of dedication first.
with Providence Estates, someone has told me that they have talked to DOT, and regardless of if we take the roads over or not, whatever roads they want to pave, they're still gonna pave.
Awesome.
Protect the village, that's all.
So,
It's, then see, to me, that's why I'm like, okay, well, at least it's not our problem. My point, remember, that was they wanted this contract signed yesterday,
in
right?
January.
So all I was, and I was under pressure to make that decision. My thought was, at least, let's come up with our own policy, right? Get the HOAs in here, have the right people sign it, so we're safe, right? And once we're clear, pave away. But until then, until I have, those pieces of paper and those signatures were from like 1980, okay? Those homes have been sold since then with reference to a plat that continues to say private roads. That's the issue. If they just forgot last Monday, not a problem. But they have forgotten to file a plat since 1980.
can I talk about that?
Sure.
The purpose and right, a lot of times you've got to figure out, okay, what's the legislative intent? Why does the statute exist? The statute, Councilmember Scoot keeps referring to is NCGS 136-102.6. It's called Compliance of Subdivision Streets with the Minimum Standards of the Board of Transportation Required of Developers. And it specifically says in subsection I, the purpose of this section is to ensure that new subdivision streets described herein to be dedicated to the public will comply with the state standards for placing subdivision streets on the state highway system for maintenance, or that full and accurate disclosure of the responsibility for construction and maintenance of private streets be made.
Right, that's the important part.
This section shall be construed and applied in a manner which shall not inhibit the ability of public utilities to satisfy service requirements of subdivisions to which this section applies. So it's protecting the state from a developer going in and saying, well, this is a private street, I don't need your seal of approval, I don't need to bring it up to state standards because it's a private street, and then all of a sudden they ask either NCDOT or the municipality or someone else to take over it, and it wasn't built correctly to begin with.
Can I read the first portion?
It's to protect NCDOT.
But you can't read this without reading the first part, which is A. The owner or tract of a parcel of land which is subdivided from and after October 1, 1975 into 2 or more lots. That means any new subdivision that occurs, right, after 1975 into 2 or more lots, building sites, or other division for sale or building development for residential purposes, where such subdivision includes a new street or the changing of an existing street. So it's not just new subdivisions where this applies. Shall record a map. This pertains to every subdivision where a subdivision of land that occurs that ends up generating sublots within that subdivision plat. So it says, I'm going to say it again, where such subdivision includes a new street or the changing of an existing street, shall record a map or plat on the subdivision with the Register of Deeds of the county in which the land is located. The map or plat shall be recorded prior, and this is important, to any conveyance of a portion of said land by reference to said map or plat. Conveyance to who? Obviously that would be to a public entity or a private entity. The right-of-way of any new street or change in an existing street shall be delineated upon the map or plat with particularity, and such streets shall be designated to be either public or private. That's what it says. And I could go on.
But I have multiple cases that state that's not the only way to have an offer of dedication. The statute doesn't say that that's the only way is to record the plat and make it public. 2007, which is one of the most recent cases on this, express acceptance can occur by formal ratification, resolution, or order by proper officials, adoption of an ordinance, a town council's vote of approval, or signing of a written instrument by proper authorities. If you go back, because I was asked to look specifically at a couple of streets in the Providence Estate subdivision, and they went through that process. They had a petition. They went to Union County Board of Commissioners. Union County Board of Commissioners asked DOT to take over the roads. DOT sent a letter back and said, we already have a right-of-way across. We've looked at it, it's fine, we'll take it. And they said, we're accepting your road. So proper public authority is NCDOT. It doesn't just have to be, a municipality to take the road.
But it goes on to
And it talks about coupled with control of the road by public authorities for a period of 20 years or more. So clearly by the testimony or the statements we heard from the public today that DOT's been out there for over 20 years.
Saying what they've done doesn't matter to me. I want to see it on
That
document.
wasn't Providence Estates.
What I saw was an inspection document from where it's Providence Estates is concerned. There was an inspection document that said your road has been inspected and we will take the road. But after that date, and it was out in 1980, it was after 1975, there was a list of things that needed to be there. One of them was a plat. And they said, attach the plat herein, and they did not attach it. And all I'm saying is, if they had stopped there, great. My issue is what happens now that people have bought and sold lots. And I've looked at those deeds, and they say, we own until the middle of the road. So I don't know the answer to that
You
question.
guys, that's my big problem is, because I happen to be in that exact situation where I am in the middle of the road, and I don't have a problem with what she's saying.
Yeah, no one's saying that your road is
I don't disagree
road.
with either of you two. All I'm saying
No,
is
not
it just
even
follows
really.
common sense
Here.
that you
It's
you
risk.
go to these people and say, hey, we understand that you all think that you have private roads. You actually have DOT roads. Here's the proof. You
There are people in Providence Road Estates though that do have private roads. There are private roads in there.
Mhm.
It's a
Well,
mix.
Some of
Yeah.
them do, some of them
Yeah.
don't, or
Yeah.
don't think they do.
so, and that's another issue, but there's people in there that think they have private roads that you're saying actually have DOT roads. And there's a history here where those people
Mhm. That's another
had heated
issue.
debates, probably not as heated as this one tonight, but they had heated debates because they didn't want anyone getting involved in their business.
So I
And I
feel
side with those people.
And all I wanted
Someone
to
should
do is
talk
pull
to them.
those
Well,
people
that's-
in and let them sign off on something. Let's make sure we have agreement and protect ourselves. That's the only reason I delayed Heritage,
So-
Oaks, and or Providence, that's all.
See, DOT's proposing to pave one of these roads that's actually marked
I
private.
think that it puts us at more risk.
See that one, and that one's on the list.
Not all of it. The portion
It doesn't say percentage.
If it has a mileage, has a certain mile, and from where to end of maintenance.
You have to remember, the fact that some people believe those roads to be private, I'm not saying what's right or wrong, I don't know either. But because they believe and argue to this day that those roads, in particular Laurelwood, is private, has kept another developer from building a 200 some odd thousand, home subdivision on the other side of Laurelwood and
And
connecting.
I think we all agree we want to protect that, you know.
My concern is getting homeowners and getting petitions or names and checking all those names and signatures opens us to more risk.
Because if you don't get
Because,
100%.
yeah, now we have to make sure that, they are the true homeowners of the property, and there's gonna be a lot of title searches, and there's gonna be a lot more to check versus we know NCDOT owns it, we're getting it from the rightful owner as opposed to.
That's kind of why we wiped our
Yeah,
hands
but see,
clean
that
of
assumes
the
they're the
homes
rightful
inside
owner.
Providence down south when they were just saying, look, we're not, there's no dog in this fight for us because this isn't our roads we're dealing with. So they wanted us to sign off.
Well, who's maintaining them roads?
Who?
These supposedly private roads?
Nobody.
Nope, well, it depends which
Have you been in
roads.
there?
Well,
Nobody.
No, well, the guy from Heritage Oaks with the flooding issue, I mean, NCDOT came out for that.
So wait, what's the deal with, okay, so hold on, can we skip over to, let's skip off of Providence.
Oh, you haven't, oh, sorry. I didn't see him.
How long has
Go
your
ahead,
hand been
Go
up?
ahead.
No,
Go ahead,
not
Kim.
that long.
Kim,
So I'll
No,
let Kim
can we,
finish.
hold on, is it about Providence Estates?
It is.
Okay, go.
I guess a point of information is that the location where that road from the subdivision, the other subdivision you're talking about, connects into Providence Road Estate is a private road. There's actually, that is a private road. There is no debate about that.
Oh,
Those-
which
But
one?
here's the history there.
Mm.
Didn't those people
Yes,
come to us or you or somebody, the planner, and say, oh no, they're DOT roads?
that's right.
I mean,
And I
this-
don't wanna be in the middle of
This is
that.
what we've been dealing with for 4 or 5 years.
Yeah. You all want to go ahead and be in the middle? Go ahead. I'm not going to be, I don't think we
And
should.
what kept that subdivision from, the guy bought one lot. Have you seen that?
Yeah, the long.
So he bought one lot and
Lot
he
51.
wanted to
I
turn it
couldn't tell
into
you which one.
an access
Mhm.
to a subdivision. And I know I said it's in South Carolina, but some of it may be in North Carolina.
Some of it is.
But it's a fairly large subdivision. I don't know if we broke ground on it. But he wanted that access
He
to
tried.
get into North Carolina,
Mhm.
Marvin Waxhaw Road.
Right.
Had that not been a private road, he would have access. These people would be suffering that traffic. He went to those lot owners,
Mhm.
correct me if I'm wrong, but he went to those lot owners and said, hey, if you'll sign off on this, I'll pave this road for you.
That's right. And you know what happened?
And that's the
Half-
history people
They
right here.
amended
Half the residents said, but this is important. Half the residents said, guys, to their own residents, they said, guys, this is public. Why not? The other half of the residents said, what are you talking about? We didn't sign off on those roads. All these roads are private. Why else am I paying for them? So you've got an internal fight in there between people who think they have private roads, people who do, people who want them, and people who don't. And that is not something I would recommend we get into the middle of. That's just
And I think all you and I said at the last meeting was, Mary, is bring them in, talk to them. I don't care if
That's
it's a
right.
phone call, a piece of paper. I don't care if they FaceTime.
I just want them to know.
I just don't want to be the one saying, hey, not your roads anyways, but guess what? Now they're the Village of Marvin roads because we wanted to get them paid for you. Now they're ours. And now this guy, they're no longer private, they're public. This guy now has his access.
Well, and what I said earlier was, I had somebody call DOT who lives in Providence Estates and told them what was going on, and they said, we don't really care what Marvin's doing, we're still gonna pave your roads.
That's interesting.
That's awesome. That's
So-
what we
Which is what
wanted.
we said,
Which
right?
is-
Robert,
right.
we said,
So-
if you want to pay them,
So
go ahead.
So I think that we should tell them to go ahead and pave them.
We,
We need to, I don't disagree, like, I think that
The
Lisa
taking
lady.
over of them.
Hold on, hey, I'm talking. That Lisa lady said she was part of one of the HOAs, which I wrote on there. I think we should reach out to her. She might be able to get people in here, gain consensus, figure out what's going on. If they need to sign something or whatever they need to do, then I think that's fine. I think that neighborhood is way more complicated than I think Heritage Oaks is. Is that, I mean.
but it was the same deal with Heritage Oaks. Our direction was, all right, you need us to make a decision today. We're not prepared to take over roads when the people don't even know it. Just send them a letter. I don't stick
Yeah, like
post-its
what
on their
did,
mailbox.
she asked me,
Hold on.
and I said, okay, I'll come to your house for the signature.
Hold on.
I don't care.
I get,
But,
now, let me address what Cox is gonna say. I don't know if you need me to sign a document that says, I understand that legally they're DOT roads. I get that. I want everyone to understand the people within those subdivisions don't all understand that.
That's right.
Everyone knows SR means state road.
Not everyone. Honestly, why, I don't know if you heard the discussion here, but they have a concern that there's at least one person in Heritage Oaks that would not sign a petition.
That's right.
Did you hear that part?
It doesn't matter because there's.
Because you said because everyone understands SR means, but
I
not
think-
everyone understands.
No. Are you
I,
kidding me?
I'm not,
I came out of the
don't
planning board, I didn't know
care.
any of that.
How do you protect legally from that one guy? That's
He
what
doesn't have a right
it
to
is.
stand on because it's not his road, it's the state's.
If the state wants,
If
if
I
the
told
state
you-
wants to do
if
Can
it.
I ask this question then? Can you, I agree that Providence Estates is a lot more complicated.
Yeah, because there are portions that are private.
Okay, so, but
And you've got the
Heritage Oaks, my only reason for including them in that was that I had limited time. I got a plat, the only plat I've ever seen, right, had nothing on it, which was weird. And I didn't have the signature thing, the same stuff I have for Providence Estates. So I just don't know the difference. So if you're telling me there's some kind of other form or other information with regard to Heritage Oaks, I'd gladly look at it. Maybe they did turn it over properly. Maybe they did get a plat signed. I don't know. And I had to make a decision last week. That's it.
But I gotta know, why was all this allowed to go on if the information was already known that DOT was
That's what I
gonna
don't
move
get.
forward? Why were people allowed to get angry? Because the direction we gave at the last meeting.
I said Providence Estates, I didn't say Heritage
Yeah.
Oaks.
Yeah.
I didn't know, but you understand
We're not
that.
moving forward
I
on
just,
anything now.
but you guys
Everything's
realized,
stopped.
I
Well,
just read a
no, Joe.
statute.
This is the misinformation. Last meeting, we said DOT can pave.
That's
We're not
right.
stopping them.
Right.
But they're only gonna pave the next
You're
few
assuming,
points.
and she just confirmed that they're gonna go ahead and do Providence Estates.
That's what
That's-
somebody was told.
But Joe, this is where.
This is too many
that's what
people away
feels-
from it.
No, that's
Just
what-
because they
that's
pave
what-
it doesn't mean, the whole agreement was, they're bringing some roads in, we're paying for roads, and then
Why
it's all
would you
being turned
stop-
over.
There would only be a political reason to stop them from doing a road for free.
No, I have
If
no.
they're willing to go in and do it without us having to risk taking over
But you're
roads.
assuming that conversation that she heard from a person who talked to NCDOT is, oh, they're just
No,
doing it,
she's
there's
saying
no.
we don't know.
We
She's saying will.
we don't know that, but I
We-
think
you know why
it's
we
clear
don't
with DOT.
know?
I think it's
We
clear
don't
with
know
DOT and
because we
AMT
didn't
is
get the
the
information
agreement
we
is
asked for yet.
they're taking over roads, we're doing roads, we're doing this together with the whole goal to turn them all over to Marvin. Period.
Right, but that could,
All
for
we
Heritage
wanted to
Oaks,
do
that
was
could have been as
reach out to
simple
the
as,
HOAs.
yeah,
And I
that's
get
it.
And if you guys,
I don't understand the problem.
I don't understand. Christine, did anyone ask
I-
you not to follow up with the HOAs?
No one asked me that.
Okay, it's
I
been.
haven't had any conversation with anybody about roads.
All right, so 2 weeks ago, that was the direction. But you didn't do anything.
No, I
Again.
have not had time.
Yeah,
You have not had time. The other part of that was Lee Ainsworth, which I know is on him. You've told me that you've reached out to him, basically threw it all out there. But we don't know if he's willing to move forward or not. So is council okay with me calling him tomorrow?
Sure.
Is
Sure.
everyone, I don't know if we need a motion. I'll just call him and ask the question, hey, is this slowing anything down? Because those folks did not need to be that riled up.
And if, can I just say, like I said, Heritage Oaks has been on the list from, I'll concede, forever. Like, that's one of those roads that's been on there forever. I just didn't have the information that showed me when the road was definitely NCDOT. If somebody has that, that too should have been sent. You know, I've been concerned about this for months. I just need the information.
My concern is that, you know, we're asking them and the neighborhoods to get together and make all this and get 100% sign off on that, which could
We're
take.
not. That's where you're
I'm
confused.
saying, what if it's
I'm
already
confused
there?
too.
DOT can pay.
I
We're
understand
happy
they
to
can
let
pay,
them
but they are under, I'm positive they are under the assumption, there's no way they're paving that road without knowing that the whole agreement is for us to take over that
One
road.
person,
I'm really confused now because I'm hearing that we're saying pave the roads that we're saying are not state roads.
No, we're saying if
If they
NCDOT wants
wanna
to.
pay-
Well, I'm saying, but if you,
That's
they
not-
wanna pave them,
they're free.
Yeah, that's NCDOT,
If you look at the
that's
list,
not
they're
us.
free.
Yeah,
but we
And
don't wanna
that was
do,
our
but we don't
point.
wanna do fire thorn.
because fire
Those
department
are,
things that we were
Firethorn's
paying
not
for.
free. If Firethorn's free, they can have
But
that.
the
Yeah.
whole agreement was we were always gonna be paying for something.
Yeah, but.
You just like spending the village's money?
No,
I don't understand. If
no,
they're free,
that,
we take it.
I agree, but,
But I don't-
part of
I
the
can't
free
imagine it's
is
gonna be
that
free if we don't take
They know
something.
we have funds too that are going towards it, so that's kind of the whole deal together.
Okay.
Part of it's
Deal.
free, part of it's paid for by the village.
So let me
all
call
be
Lee
turned
tomorrow.
over.
Let me call Lee
I can't see that they're gonna take up 75% of the bill and not have us pick up anything.
Exactly.
Yeah, but remember, please let's not forget though, that this was put in front of us, right? No one, to make a decision. And all we saw was the bill being really high and we had no understanding of why all of a sudden certain roads were superseding roads that were far worse. So there's
Well,
two different
and
things are
again, you know,
happening.
we look at it differently and stuff, and, again,
If this was
I guess
your
I'm,
own
I guess
money-
I'm the dummy on the council, but I'm not a broad person. If AMT and NCDOT said these roads need to be done, or, you know, they wanna do these roads, so they come in and they give us their whole spiel, I wouldn't know what the hell they were talking about anyway, so.
Right.
But now,
Yeah, but they said,
now we're
they
on
did
the-
that. They said Providence
How am I gonna-
Ridge
how am
and
I
then
gonna
all of a
make a
sudden
decision?
we weren't contracting for Providence
But
Ridge.
Nick, where
So
we're
I
at
was
now
confused.
is just this idea Joe saying that it can't possibly be true, they do it for free. They said they do it for free. The only caveat is, yes, we know we're supposed to take them over, but we said, wait, if we're gonna make a decision today, we wanna talk to the HOAs. We want them to know what's going on.
Mhm.
That's what we did last
That's the
meeting.
motion.
That's all we did. All right, well, hold on, let me finish. If this were your own $388,000, would you really spend it without seeing first what they're willing to do for free? I mean, wouldn't you
Well, they were,
at least ask the
they're basically
question?
telling us what they're gonna do.
They're not, well, basically.
That's what they give us a number, yeah, that's what they're doing.
You're right.
I mean, we got a
So
million,
you
we
can't
got
wait
It's
a,
part of the.
well, I'm saying, but we have, I'm saying, but they've told us what they're gonna do for
So,
free.
so make a motion, Nick. I'm tired of trying to convince you that a single phone call to an HOA is okay, or that a single phone call to Lee Amherst is okay. We've had 2 weeks to do it, and we didn't do it. So if we're just not gonna do it, you guys make your motion and be done with it. I'm offering to call Lee tomorrow and say, hey, are you willing to do Providence Estates?
Yeah, like I don't know what the harm is.
I don't know what the harm is, but if you've already made up your mind before you walked in the doors, just make the motion.
Well, I think everybody's, I think you
I
made
said
You're wasting my time.
I said it earlier. I really don't like this idea of I think or I.
No, I made the decision
You
2 weeks
think or you
ago
know?
in the meeting, when we gave direction to the administrator to talk to HOAs and to talk to Lee Amesworth, neither which has been accomplished.
Can I, and I'll read the motion if you'd like. I think we should.
So don't tell me I made a decision before I walked in the door. I made it 2 weeks ago in an open meeting that was recorded in a formal motion.
And reach out to residents in Providence Estates, Heritage Oaks,
Right.
and begin talking to them about the process of amending their plats.
Right, and so this one was discussion and reconsideration of road maintenance agreement, and that's what we're doing, reconsidering what those motions that were made last time, which was
That's-
basically to put
So would
it,
one of you make a
so that's
motion?
what we're on hold.
And then can we
I mean-
recess, because I'm spent? And do.
You want to do the motion after? Or before.
If they wanna make a motion to do it, I don't care. If they don't wanna wait for me to call Lee and see if they'll do it for free. I mean, cause guess what? We were elected to make bullshit decisions that
Apparently.
we wouldn't make in our own lives.
You can color it any way you want. I'm pretty clear with the whole agreements, how we've been involved with them. The whole reason they're doing these roads. There's no such thing as free. If you want to believe something's free, Robert, then I don't
But
know.
why
I
these
got a
roads?
lot of property to sell you.
But then why
I'm
these
telling you,
just said
nothing is
That
free.
she talked to someone that,
But that's not talking to
It's
anyone
not
direct.
true.
But we've had direct conversations with AMT
I believe
and
you.
NCDOT.
Oh, really?
Okay.
You have?
Well,
We in meetings we've had. That's been the whole.
No,
I
actually,
kind of think, actually,
my whole premise
Hold on,
is that
hold
we
on.
have not
Okay.
had those
Okay.
conversations.
We
I
actually.
kind of think that the thing that Kim said may have been NCDOT saying, we don't care whether you think they're private or not, we're gonna do it anyway.
But that's
Not
again,
so much
that's
about
an
we don't know.
assertion and a
Free.
presumption.
We don't know. We
Well, I'm
don't
saying
know.
we don't know, but I'm saying. to me, that could just be-
I
that
do
could be
know
just as-
I
that
do
could be
know
just
the
as, what
conversations
they
that
said.
we've had with AMT, that when they go to do their negotiating and they said, hey, and DOT's on board, they said to us, they want to know that you're committed to this, meaning that are you going to
I
pony
don't
up some of
disagree with
it?
you.
So that's why maybe they inflated
but
it a
that's
little
not
bit
to
more.
say,
This
that's
is-
under,
Nothing's free.
listen to the logic for a minute. They know that there's a history with this one particular subdivision, all right? They know that. They also know, or they have also gone through the process of marking it up and letting the contract. And they're ready to do it. So if I'm a division head, am I making a decision to move forward or not based on what could be 2-3 weeks that Marvin works it out? Am I willing to roll the dice that I just repaid roads that technically I should have repaid on my own 10 years ago? Am I taking a risk on that? And I say, yeah, he might be. And all it is a phone call. A phone call she tried to make, but he didn't respond. Well, an email. It's easier to ignore an email than a phone call. I'm offering to make a phone call. But it sounds like, I got the impression Kim was willing to move forward with a policy, but also willing to let me make the phone call. It sounds like Nick just wants to be done with it for whatever reason.
And can I say where I'm at? I think this entire road issue, for whatever reason, has been mismanaged from the get-go, from the day when I was here. And I'm not saying that's anyone's fault. I'm saying, well, for whatever reason, we have not had the information, whether it's, new staff trying to catch up, whether it's new council members trying to catch up, whether it's understanding we had policies, didn't have policies, how decisions were made. And I find it ironic that someone tonight or a couple people tried to talk to me about my accountability and need for service. This is what I feel is exactly my job. I don't feel that spending $388,000 on anything without being 100% sure how those decisions were made and why they're justified. I mean, aside from the whole public-private road issue, I don't feel that any of you really, quite frankly, especially those that have been here a long time, have provided any clarity until last meeting about why it is that we're spending this money and on what. And so go ahead if you want to, I think all the better.
I think
Just proves my
that's
point.
Well, let me just ask the question then. So Robert, if you talk to Lee tomorrow, and he tells you, no, unless you do it the way we have it, we're not gonna do it, what do you do then? So what's your vote gonna be?
I still don't
I mean, yeah.
I still don't understand why we wouldn't call the HOAs. I mean, it takes just a couple days.
I have a
Well,
question
hold
on
on.
that.
Are you on council?
No, but legally,
But
I'm
no,
trying
hold
to
on.
understand legally
No,
what
but-
that benefit is. Because if the argument is it's private and you own to the right of way, then your HOA can't give away your interest in the road. Unless the HOA owns the road, but you're not
Unless-
showing that any plots. If your argument it's a private road and you own to the middle of it, the HOA doesn't own it, then you own it.
No, the HOA was platted with the easement.
No, the HOA,
That's all.
the point was we can't
There's
get every resident
NCDOT
in
has an
here.
easement across the entire
We
thing.
were going to
That's
talk
what
to
that
the
dotted line
HOA
is.
and see what's going on there's
It's
6
like public
inch.
Are we talking about
information.
Providence
You're talking,
Estates
just
or
information,
Providence?
public information. I wanted to make sure you didn't think legally that the HOA can say.
No, I
If
know
it is in
that.
fact private, that the HOA can say.
Well, like Heritage doesn't
You know,
even have an
again, I
HOA.
go
So how would you
We
answer the
don't.
next question?
I go back to accountability because this does go back a couple of years. This is one of the reasons I had
Yeah,
trouble with
sure.
adopting roads in the first place. I felt like there were a lot of issues in this village that had not yet been sorted out, that we needed to make sure that at very least, we had policies of our own that reflected or mirrored what NCDOT had before we started to accept roads and just ad hoc run into issues with this and without being prepared.
So again,
And it
my-
feels like we're doing that.
But
quite
again,
frankly.
my question is, if you go to Lee and he says, we don't care whether they say they're private roads or whatever, as far as we're concerned, the NCDOT roads, we'll do them, but if you don't do the other things, we're not gonna do anything. Or, you know, we're not gonna.
That's why I'm suggesting,
But then what is the vote after that?
What do you do after that?
You get that answer, what do you do?
I mean, how do we have our bargaining chip now to go with them for more roads down the road as we start to think? It's like,
It's
they gotta worry about,
Listen,
is
coming back
Margaret
like
gonna
Joe,
pull
but
out?
it's a
But I think
year
it's
by year.
legit, I think it's
it's year
legit.
by year is what
If he's-
ANC told us.
I think it's legit.
Do I not, Robert, I have a question for you. Maybe I'm not understanding. If you're saying, ask Lee Ainsworth, I think what you're asking is, hey, are you gonna go ahead and pave Heritage Oaks
And if he
regardless?
says
And if he
yes,
says yes, then we can
It's a non-issue.
continue to do what we need to do to accept it,
So if
but we
he
don't
says-
have an
but
issue
the-
anymore.
So the next point is when he
Right.
says no.
well, if he says no, you guys have full information, and I may still vote yes or no, but if you guys, it sounds like you have a majority to move forward. Don't worry about what I think, but at least let me get the information.
Or make the motion to that,
Discussing
make
it.
that motion to that point. You guys, it's not brain surgery.
No.
So you make a motion that says, okay, provide, Mr. Councilman Epps with 7 whatever days to get an answer. And then if that answer is this will be the council's sanctioned action. And if it says no, this is the council's sanctioned action. That's all.
But but to your point, his question to you, you didn't answer though.
I just did.
I just
I
did.
don't think.
It's for information. If
But you don't think that, okay,
Your
you're.
question,
Go ahead, go ahead.
Jesus. If Lee Ainsworth tells me it's a non-issue, now, we're gonna pave it either way, why would we volunteer to get into that?
And accept it.
No, I'm saying,
Please let me finish a
But
complete
you're now answering the
answer.
whole question.
I'm not what?
You're not answering the whole question because his question is really that, he's asking not only, if you're willing to pay for free, I get it, pay it for free, but there's a caveat there.
How do you know that?
I'm telling you, I guarantee,
I'm
because
just
we
saying, my
discussed it
question
all
was
along,
if he
there's a
says-
caveat.
if he says, unless you accept it all, we're not gonna do it.
But we don't know that.
Oh,
Let Robert answer.
Go ahead.
Have you ever heard the gift horse phrase? I mean, honestly, if someone is offering you personally something for free, you may look at it, kick the tires, but are you gonna refuse it?
Nothing's for free.
Well,
And
I mean,
here's-
the only thing I
He's not
have,
answering.
I'm trying to answer the question, but no one will stop
Right,
interrupting
you're
me.
just saying gift
So
horse.
your
Let him
question
talk, please,
was,
guys. Let him finish.
your
Of course I'd
question,
take something for free.
yeah, but you won't do it for the village? That's what pisses me off.
No.
If the village can score the same benefit for free, why wouldn't you let the village take
And buy us
that?
time
You're-
to sort it out.
All right.
That's not what he's saying.
Yes.
can I just, they're good?
Can I answer the question
What?
that was
Yes.
asked?
Yeah, well, again, but they're saying it's $1,143,389 for the whole thing, of which they'll pony up 754. So they're not giving it to you for free. They still want us to pony up 380
Right.
something. They're not giving it to free. It's not,
So-
they're not saying we'll give you
It's not
784. You don't do anything.
Guys.
You're making my point. It's not free as a whole. Listen. The question now is whether or not we would take over Providence Estates just because we feel like we have to.
That's right.
The question I'm gonna ask Lee Ainsworth, and I hope everyone's following me this one time. The simple question I'm gonna ask him is, hey, are you gonna move forward with Providence Estates regardless of what the village does in terms of taking over the road from you? And if his answer is, yeah, we're doing it either way, why the hell would we volunteer to get into that mess?
I understand what you're
Okay,
saying.
If you don't get that by
No, I
now,
got it.
I understand what you're saying, but
Like
again,
he's just asking,
We're
gonna
not-
ask a
we're-
question. Why was anyone opposed to that? I don't get
I'm
that.
not.
If you don't think
No,
there's
you're not.
already a
I'm not
caveat,
saying that. I'm
but if
saying
you
in
don't think
general.
there's already a
Anyone.
caveat in there that they're gonna say, I mean, to your point, it's
Guys.
1 point whatever $1 million that they're ponying up.
Okay.
And then how does that?
I'm just
I'm
not-
I'm not-
They're trying to
But what
speculate.
if he says yes? If he says yes, we're just gonna do it, which is what the person who talked to DOT told me, they said, yeah, we don't care what Marvin's doing, we're gonna pave it, your roads suck, we're gonna pave it.
Awesome.
Now, if they say yes, then great, that gives us plenty of time to go to the HOAs and figure it out.
Figure it
If
out.
they say no, now is when we have to make a decision
But
on what we're going
I'm
to
looking
do.
at it as that statement that they're gonna do it.
Pave it.
Well, I mean,
No,
in other words, they're gonna do it, they don't care what we say about
Correct.
privately owned, publicly owned.
Within perpetuity, never taking it over.
Well, not in perpetuity, but not right now.
But we can
you don't
accept a
know
road,
because.
hold on, you guys
No,
are
no,
getting me
no,
all
I was
confused.
asking-
We
but-
can
but
accept a
we-
road
we-
anytime, if they pave it tomorrow, NCDOT, they can't stop us from petitioning them to accept that road from them
I
later.
just think it's.
That's just not even a
mean,
non-issue.
personally, I mean, again,
We just pass a resolution
That's not
on that.
factual, but I think
That makes no sense.
it's a little bit naive of us to think they're gonna pony up $754,000, and we're not gonna do it, and they're gonna just do roads and we're not gonna accept
But
them.
so we should not ask
I
that.
don't- I don't-
Well, so you're saying that even if they pave them, we won't accept them? If they say, oh, we don't care whether it's private, public, as far as we're concerned, there are roads, we'll
That's why
pave
they're
them.
doing it.
But you gotta accept them.
I don't know what else I can say to be clearer. If someone is deciding, another entity, to put their pavement down on a road, that's up to them, right? I mean, if someone comes and gives you,
What don't
like,
you get about that?
I don't understand.
Because of how the whole.
question. All I gotta do is call
But,
them.
Robert, to be fair, it's how this whole agreement came together. It was always, okay, here's the deal, guys. You know, I mean, they even said to us, hold on a second, they even said to us, what are you gonna do? They want a commitment. AMT said to us, in their discussions with NCDOT, they wanted to let us know that we were committed to this, meaning that we were gonna spend our money, they were gonna spend some of the state money combined, we were pulling
We're
money
spending
from
our money
things
either way.
that
At this
either-
point, we're spending the 388.
My point is, but there was never, the whole intention was for them to get rid of the roads, to your point, as fast as they can, but we, with the agreement that we were gonna be
Yeah,
taking.
I know.
Okay, I'm gonna make a motion to have Councilman Epps
Well, I
take.
still got
Well, let me just
one more
finish,
question.
and then you guys can vote.
Well, I guess I'll have more questions before I vote.
Questions.
I'm just trying to move it along.
Let him finish his thought.
If you vote no, you vote no.
Again,
Just,
so if, you know, because we have two different, to me, we got two different things going on, the private road, the
That's right.
fire thorn issue.
I don't know, I think we're down to one.
Well, let's say, but if you went to Leandro tomorrow, and he said, yeah, well, okay, so he said, we'll pay, we'll do the $758,000
pave
for that.
what though? What are we talking about?
The private, you know, whatever, all the other, the roads not including fire, the ones that you say are private roads.
But is that what you're gonna ask him?
That's what I'm gonna ask.
Oh, I thought it was just Heritage.
And he
No,
says,
province
yes,
estates.
we're gonna pay them, we don't care. But if we pave them, you gotta accept them. You gotta take maintenance, and we're not gonna pay
And
them,
I
no, we're
would
not gonna take.
still,
we're not
I'm
gonna
only
take
one
maintenance.
vote, and I would still say, no to that. Not yet. That doesn't mean no forever. That means, I think we need to clean house a little and cross our Ts and dot our Is. That would be me.
Nick,
I
I
can tell
just
you
wanna
right
bring
up
that information back tomorrow. If he doesn't answer, he doesn't answer.
Well, I mean, unfortunately, I mean, and that's,
It's a real risk.
you know, that's, I understand that, but we have to have another meeting then. And, you know, well, because we can't just do it on, how are we gonna do it? We have to have a meeting,
Right,
discuss
right,
it again.
because it's gonna get into another.
Why can't we just recess till, what is today, Wednesday? To Friday. Can anyone make Friday work for an hour?
I'm here.
I can't make Friday, I can't make till next week.
Or Monday?
I'm gone next week, yes, because of Tuesday.
Can I make a motion to recognize Mr. Scoot for a minute?
Well, very quick, and it's a real risk that you guys are, I think there's too much heat, you're not seeing a risk, Nick. Laurelwood is a private road, that's the one that's very contentious about this fellow trying to drive to build a road through. It's a private road, it is on the schedule for the DOT.
Not all of it, just part of it,
Right.
right?
How are we gonna define if that becomes
Well,
private?
Laurelwood is a state
And you come.
Laurelwood is.
come in
Right.
And start saying it's public, it's a state
Yeah,
road.
Right, but
They're only
I guess my question, Mike, is, NCDOT wants to get rid of roads. So I can't imagine, in my mind, and I could be stupid,
But we're trying
how they're
to.
gonna pay $784,000 to roads we're not gonna take over.
Nobody's-
We're gonna say, well, they're private roads, we're not gonna take it over. We can pay them, but we're not gonna take it over.
We're gonna ask
Because
it, but
they
this
could have been
is the next time.
I'll tell you why, I'll tell you why. There's a possibility that they were on their schedule for repaving anyway. There's a possibility. And all I'm saying is,
You're not stupid, but what's stupid is not to ask the question when it can be asked
That's
in a day. Now, keep in mind, the only reason I'm volunteering was because they didn't respond to Christina. And I'm gonna try and get to them through someone else that I know, that I could get them to call me back, and I think I've got a shot at it.
Don't let them.
I don't, and it's not,
that whole section.
you guys can make a motion if you want, but I don't understand, Nick. You're not stupid, but what is stupid is to not accept something for free when you can get it for free, when all you had to do is accept it.
and buy us some time to do things right.
But you, and that's the problem I have, though, you keep saying for free, and it's, I can't,
As a whole, it's not for free, Nick, we get that. You wanna say it again? I get it. It's, as a whole, we are chipping in
no, but
$388,000.
what you're
But
saying,
that's not Providence Estates, that's private.
but we're basically now, from what I understand,
That's good.
we're gonna
I
say,
mean,
do them roads, or, you know, if he says, we'll do them roads.
Nick, if he says, Robert, we would love to stay on this schedule, we understand you guys have a problem with accepting that Providence Estates, you don't have to,
Well, they're not gonna pay them.
but
and
we'll
then
pay
no
them.
caveat.
You're you're putting words into the guy's
But
mouth.
you're assuming that they're not gonna just walk away from this going forward and.
I'm assuming Lee Ainsworth is smart enough,
I
I'm assuming Lee Ainsworth is smart enough not
I hear where the concerns are.
to be offended by a question.
No, I know he's not. I'm
No, that's my question.
gonna address, Rohit, you had a question? Rohit,
And
you're the,
Okay, alright, I just wanted to say that Laurelwood's a state road end to end.
I'm sorry,
Laurelwood is a state
It
road.
is already state?
Yeah,
it's a state road end to end, okay. So that's the main drag.
yeah, that's the
Goes in
main,
there.
that's the
Okay.
main.
If we take Laurelwood, we're screwed.
Well,
It's a state road.
it's a state road.
I'm not commenting on that.
Yeah, yeah.
That's where the guy wants to put the egress to his new subdivision.
No, he's building it off of Sandalwood.
Okay, Sandalwood, is Sandalwood a private road?
Sandalwood in that section is private.
And is it on the schedule for free payment?
But that doesn't mean, we need to take that out.
Not this one.
I know what you're saying, because I know it gives them access.
I just hope you guys understand what I'm saying, is if they force it down private roads.
Yeah, Sandalwood is only up to here, and then right here.
This one I
Where's that?
Here's Sutherland.
I just
But they've got a little over half a mile.
And
And
obviously.
that right there,
when
just by scale, looks like a couple thousand feet.
And I
But it doesn't look, this is all private.
That's private, and that's not gonna be paid.
I mean,
That won't be
No.
paid.
But it doesn't show.
Do you understand what it
says the
is?
Yeah,
private.
they
we
have
get it.
that. If they had-
Is that a
if they
five?
had 20 years and had a sign
It
up
could
there,
be a
they're
five,
not gonna go in
but
there.
the
They're
point
not gonna bring it up, that's why they're saying, we have to bring it up to speed.
Our
See,
lease will be-
I would demand the same thing, any private road.
But you
I would
guys,
just demand the
you
same
guys
thing
have a
that
problem with me
DOT
making the
demanded
assumption
of
that
us.
it's possible Lee would
And
say,
this, well, this is.
it's
that's all
okay, we're gonna pay it
425,
anyways,
which-
but you're making the assumption that they're not gonna go in there.
That's all right,
Why
this
are
is
your assumptions
25.
okay and
No,
mine are
no, what I'm
so
saying
wrong?
is because being involved in the whole turning over the roads and all that whole thing, that was always the deal.
I get it, Joe, why
So-
can't we ask the question?
I know we asked, because all we're doing is delaying
I'll
it.
do
They've
my
already
best.
started the process of getting this done. We just have to make a decision.
I
Are
know
we gonna do
90%
this or
of
not?
the time, my wife is not gonna be okay with me offering to pick up Bojangles for dinner,
It's okay.
but 1 out of 10 times, she's gonna let me do it, so I keep asking.
I'm sure you do.
All I wanna
don't
do
know
is
how
ask-
that means. And then you can ask.
I'll give you a 10 out of 10 on that one. I love
It would just seem like you gotta ask a pretty complex question, because
Not on the.
no matter what answer
I
you
don't
get,
think
there's
it's
gonna be 4
complex
other
either.
Right.
objections
Yeah,
or whatever.
it's
you
gonna
know?
be-
All I wanna ask the man is, will you continue to do the roads without us taking over Providence Estates? That's all I'm gonna ask him.
Right.
Okay, so the section of Sandalwood that is private.
Sandalwood, that's,
Right.
yeah.
The section of Sandalwood that is private, and that's the same section that that other subdivision connects to. It is private and is not on the schedule.
Perfect.
Right.
That
Yes.
other section of Sandalwood.
So then they should be
But
moving
did
that.
you know that did you know that the latest development is that developer is now trying to get through on Rosebud Trail?
Wait,
Yeah,
trying to do
I
what?
heard that.
What did you say?
They're trying to
calling
purchase
it a
another
trail.
lot to try to get through Rosebud Trail and
The
go.
Rosebud Trail.
Yeah,
I don't know
in
what I thought you
Providence
said.
Estates. So this is the thing, like, yeah, And
We
you
have to be
probably,
careful. We have to be careful.
you have to be careful.
But you guys asked, what am
But
I
let me
gonna
focus
do
on
if
this.
Lee Angor says, no, Robert, you gotta take him over? You know, this is like a 5-minute conversation I gotta have with the guy. But if he says, no, Robert, you gotta take him over, I would report back to Christina immediately, whether it's yes or no. And then I'm done with it. Now, I may still vote no, but from what I'm hearing, the three of you, Joe, Kim, and Nick, are probably gonna move forward. So you don't need to worry about how I'm gonna vote. All I'm asking is that we just ask the simple question. And if you don't wanna wait on the HOAs, that's fine. And I don't deny anything Cox has said, or anything Mary has said is not true. Joe, oh my God, let a guy finish the
Go ahead.
sentence.
Yeah, you do the same for me. You show me that
Okay,
respect
come
all
on,
the
guys,
time.
it is
Go ahead.
11, it's after 11.
You
Come
had
on,
your point.
stop.
You made it. We get
Stop.
it. Okay. Go.
You get it?
Stop.
Yeah, we get it.
Stop.
We get it.
So I can see that both of them may be right. But
Okay,
it's not the point.
Mary and I are working on a motion, which we
Okay.
feel like will be a very nice,
Clean way of doing it.
yes.
All right.
So you're not gonna do.
But it's gonna take me a minute. So keep
It's okay, not
arguing.
Oh, no, no.
So I would say this. I would say this. If anything, it says, look, make a motion to get the Laurelwood. Is it?
Sandalwood.
No, Laura. What's the one that?
Laurelwood.
Heritage Jokes.
No, the main drag in
That's Laurelwood.
That's
Laurelwood. Okay, I did have it right.
times.
Laurelwood. Well, no one was
Banyan
making sure.
Way is the other one.
So if that is always was scheduled to be done, the private ones are the private ones, and those aren't scheduled to be done. But if we make the motion to kind of keep that on track, but as we are doing this, we're also making a motion to have Robert reach out to them and say, just so you know, the plan is, if that's a state-owned road, is what you're telling me, and what we know legally,
Is it a
that
resolution?
that
Is that for
state-owned
sure?
roads.
It's a resolution, right?
He's telling me, yes, it is.
Laurelwood
And
State.
contract.
For
State.
sure.
I mean, I can tell you the number of it.
Well, I know, but so is
1485.
Heritage
So-
Oaks, but there's some question
So,
about
so
that
my
too.
point is we're not,
Hold on, I'm sorry, hold
Well,
on.
there's no question that it is a state road. The question is whether it's owned by the state or if it's private. With an easement.
So an SR road, that should be a state-owned road, correct?
but it wouldn't be private.
Right.
So it would be,
They wouldn't put
Public.
their SR on it if they wouldn't spend money for it.
Right, but
Yeah, but we
from-
don't know who makes those designations. I've seen mistakes been corrected between Raleigh and between divisions all the time. I'm just saying I don't know. I'm not saying yes or no. I'm just saying
But
we
the case law
need
says
to
if
say
it's
we don't
been
know.
open and maintained for 20 years.
It has
So
been
nothing
maintained.
else is saying, look,
Hold on,
look,
hold
if
on,
nothing
hold
else
on,
saying.
hold on. No, this is important. I get that. That's implicit acceptance only when the road though has been offered to the public. That's the problem I'm having. If this road had been at some point offered for public dedication and then NCDOT or us or anyone came and just started paving, that would be implicitly implied acceptance. Deal done. But but it was never offered for acceptance. That's the problem I'm trying to understand. How did they accept a private road that was never offered for public dedication in the
was
first
it ever a
place?
private road or has it always been public?
It's always been private.
Laurelwood.
All of the roads in Providence
So, I
Estates.
mean,
No, but we have the paperwork where they went to the Union County Board of Commissioners and they said, please adopt the resolution. It was included in your letter from the last meeting. And Union County adopted a resolution in like 84, 85, and then NCDOT in 84, 85 said, okay, we reviewed it, we're taking it.
In what?
Laurelwood.
Yeah, Laurelwood and Banyan.
So
Yeah,
we're-
no, but they said they were, but then they didn't go ahead with the rest of the steps. My thought is, and I don't, from what I understand, is the next step according to the statute was, all they needed to do was refile the plat. But if you look at all of the emails, it said attach a plat,
who
and there
needs
was
the
no plat
refund?
there.
Who needs a refund?
The people that petitioned to change the road.
The problem is from whatever that started until now, like it just, they didn't do it.
Right,
And case law said, even if you don't have the recorded plat, you're still okay. if you follow if you follow these other steps.
To your point, we
I
may
don't-
be opening
the
ourselves
ones-
up if we do it the alternative way. We could be opening it up.
Yeah, I think you take it from the rightful owner who is NCDOT.
Right.
Yeah, but that's my point. I don't know that they're the rightful owner at this point, because they didn't follow their own process. If you guys, like I said, you have the votes, if you wanna take on that legal risk, I'll be waving that flag forever that I didn't do it.
Well, you guys work on a motion, 'cause I-
I'm already working on it.
I know, I think the conversation with, DOT, if we have one, is like, look, we don't want to put a wrench in the construction plans of you, but understand that, we're being, there's a lot of, there's some concern about, can it be taken over? And just ask them what that is, but that's our goal anyways.
That's
To take
what I
over
wanna
the
ask.
state roads. That's
Well-
our goal.
well,
It
listen.
is.
Listen.
It is not.
Listen, no, our goal, and this is where you and I are not on the same page.
Okay.
Our goal is to protect our residents' property values by maintaining subdivision roads that DOT would not otherwise pave. My point is, and I think you understand this, you just don't agree with it, is if DOT is willing to pave it without us taking it over, why would we take it over? Our goal is not to take over roads, it's not. Our goal is to repave or maintain roads to protect property values, but not take them over.
No,
That-
no, that's all I'm saying, take it over.
Not necessarily our goal, but again, and I know we haven't spoken to them or whatever, but the whole thing with Power Bill funds was you have to take over roads, or you're not getting Power Bill
Yes.
funds. That was the whole idea.
Exactly. So how can you have a neighborhood that has 4 miles of roads that Marvin owns, because we're in Powellville funds, and the rest are DOT and, get in line. We want to be responsive to that homeowner that, and increase their property values by saying it, and we're all paying the same taxes. I had a discussion recently with a guy on a private road, and he wants it, hey, I'm paying the same taxes. I go, I'm assuming, and I'm speaking for one, that if, before we take over your road, because it's private, before we take it over, we'd want to bring it up to our standards, so then we would maintain it in perpetuity. We don't just get it because they signed the agreement individually, this is a private road. For a state to come in and all of a sudden take it over, and that's silly. But you're right, Nick, that was the whole idea, this whole thing with Powell funds, and that was their rule. It wasn't even
They wanna
a
get rid of
state
those.
law that was passed, they just made a rule. If you're gonna get Powell funds, you have to take over.
No, that was
state
actually a
roads.
state law. The North Carolina legislature actually said that, because too many municipalities like us
I
were sort of gaming it, and we were only taking, a quarter of a mile of a road and getting those.
But-
Well, yeah,
So is your personal go as a council member, your one vote, if you were one vote, and you could pave someone's road without any risk to the village, without taking anything over, are you telling me that you would decide, well, no, that's not good enough, I want to be responsible for it in perpetuity? Do you see what I'm saying? If DOT's willing to do it, why wouldn't we take it?
That's an unfair question, because
It's not.
it isn't, because
That's the
it's
question I'm gonna
just-
ask tomorrow.
It's not, that's fine, you can ask that question, I encourage you to,
Jeez.
but I'm telling you, the whole reason
I can
we're
see that.
even in Powellville and we're doing roads is because we said we would accept them.
Oh, here?
And the plan was, I wanted, and that's why I didn't like the 20-year plan, Robert, because I thought we could go a whole 20 years and one neighborhood gets done twice before another neighborhood gets. That's why we talked about bonds, let's get it all done together and let's bring it over to us. We
The
were,
goal was concrete
The goal-
roads, not to take.
the goal was to take over the roads.
Trying.
Because DOT had already sent us a
It's
letter
part
way
of
back
the deal.
before Christina,
There's a
hold on a
difference
second,
between goal
hold
and
on.
condition.
They told us a long time ago, look, we can't even get to secondary roads like this, let alone neighborhoods. So our roads were never gonna be done. In fact, that was the case in Lancaster. When our neighborhood went to Lancaster,
Okay.
they said, look, get in line, it's not gonna happen. Even though they know they're responsible for it, at the end of the day, that was the whole reason. We're providing now a service. okay, for that tax rate,
We-
we're
we can
providing a
provide the
service.
service without the risk, why wouldn't we?
But I get that, but that was the deal
It's
today,
not
sir.
fair.
But that's, why do you
There's
think
no-
they
there's
gave
no
us
risk.
$400,000 to do?
All right,
to
let's
do,
bring it down.
Why did they give us the money to
There's
do
no
on
risk to
that?
asking the question.
I get that, but
So the funny
I
thing is,
promise
they're
you,
paying
they're not gonna just take over roads and start doing neighborhoods without some quid pro
Let's you and me,
quo.
let's you and me make a bet. What's the word to?
3, 4, 5.
Let's
I'm
make a
not gonna
bet.
make a bet.
There's a, oh, you're so sure.
I know, because I've been involved in talking to them, how this whole thing works. They said, yes, they were gonna get over, the fact that they said, hey,
I'll
pony
hand
up.
wash your car.
Seminole.
I don't know, you don't do a nice
So
job.
you get
Those
the
are all,
numbers.
yeah, those are all 70 or
You see my truck.
less, like in the 70s or less.
Okay, so I think we're.
There's one other
You guys
thing that
close.
needs
One more
mentioned out
clause.
loud, just so everyone's clear.
Copy.
Is everyone listening?
Yep.
We got an extension, right? So currently, making this phone call, waiting a day or whatever, there is no risk to it. And it was, someone said, I don't know who,
Wait till she comes back to confirm.
she's the one that told us there was an extension, but yeah, I can wait. Just don't let me forget.
No, I'll write down.
Yeah, I don't think there's any risk
Still not
in
gonna
waiting
accept
and making a
Robin's
phone call.
regardless, right?
I guess my concern is, there's a million moving parts to this, and you may get an answer to this part, then there's gonna be other parts that we haven't answered, and we're gonna be doing this for, you know, again, you know.
That's it?
That's it.
We
That's-
don't have a
that's-
roads
Because-
department.
That's like so many things we
Because there's
deal
the
with,
ones
Nick,
that
but
we
all
know
you can
about.
do
Like, we know about
is
these,
a step
they're
at
gonna
a
pay
time,
this,
and right
we're
now,
gonna
the
pay
only
for these
step
we know about.
that we gave
I feel
direction
good
on
about that
was
one, and they're gonna pay for
the
this.
HOAs
So
and
it's
Lee
really
Ainsworth.
just
We only asked for 2
Okay,
steps.
so
Now,
that's actually it.
I get that the HOAs could be complicated, so if we
I
have to
thought the
bypass
whole
that,
purpose was
that's
because he
fine.
wanted to call for the others too.
It's the lead,
No, I don't
the
think
lead
so.
question, I don't understand why we wouldn't just
Make it
ask it.
amended
He
if
was
wants
asking
to.
about an extension.
So-
Someone said out loud that there was either risk, I don't wanna misquote anyone, risk or that we were holding up DOT, but it's my understanding we've got an extension on signing that contract.
We got an extension, that's what I was trying to find it in my email, and I was having a hard time, I can go back there and
If
look.
it's 30 days from the last meeting, that means we have 2 weeks. I'm just looking for 2 days.
It wouldn't be the last meeting, I think that the 30-day extension expires Friday, this Friday.
I thought the deadline was last meeting, which was 2 weeks ago.
No,
So 30 days.
no, let me go try to pull up that email real quick.
Okay, so
I couldn't find it on my phone.
let me make sure I understand. So your thought is to call NCDOT and just ask,
Specifically Lee Ainsworth.
right? So
Yeah.
specifically, well, I don't know, all right, so,
DOT, put that in your motion, because if he's
He's
not
not
there
there.
and get his boss,
right,
that would be, that would be fine.
right, one of the agents, right?
Sure.
Okay.
Well, someone who actually, I wouldn't bring you guys.
NCDOT agent.
NCDOT.
Yes, yeah.
Well,
Okay, so let me just make sure, because I just want to,
Mhm.
so how many days do you think you need to do that?
It's up to you guys. If I want to call, but if he declines to call me back, I'm not trying to hold anything up.
Well,
Okay, but just give me a
wanna
date, just give me a time, a
Well,
week?
but if the deadline is Friday, then.
Well, let's find out when the.
Yeah, so if the deadline's Friday, we only got.
Okay, but aside from that, this is just preliminary, I'm not asking like for, about a week would you need?
I was just looking for 2 days.
Okay, so we'll leave that.
We all said we couldn't meet till Monday anyways. So if I can't get hold of him, I'll find out from Christina. We need to find out when that deadline is.
Okay, so, next, if they're paving, are you trying to ask if they're gonna pave Providence Estates and Heritage Oaks or are you asking just Providence Estates?
I was gonna ask both, just so that we could put it to a rest, because if they're just gonna do it, why do we even need to stir a pot on either subdivision?
so what's exactly you're gonna ask him?
Do you all intend to pave these roads with or without the Village of Marvin?
Do that one?
accepting it? I'm gonna ask it as simple as possible.
I mean, that's my.
It
I honestly
says
feel like
yes.
that's insignificant, I just
Then-
wanted to see.
Yeah, so then knowing that, either
Has it
way,
forever been?
either way, do we agree the road should
Has
get
it forever
done?
been on NCDOT?
I'd like to see it done.
Okay, so either way, the roads
And
get
just so you
done.
know, Nick,
So the
that's
question
I feel
is,
like that was
if he comes back with that and says,
No,
yeah, we're
like,
gonna pave it, then we
Can I ask
can
to
go
interject
through the
a
the
technical,
legal
like,
realms
question?
of what, if we
Please.
can accept them or not, and just say, so look, there are gonna be those roads that are clearly
For any-
in question, that we're worried about the legal, I mean, DOT wants nothing more, they wanna bring us in,
Okay, we're
for
just
instance,
checking it
just
out.
on
So
our
that's how I feel
entrance
good
way.
about that.
They're always trying to bring other people in so they can spread the litigation or the liability case on that.
So
So,
I'm with you. So if he says no, you got, or you ask me if he says no, you gotta take him over.
yeah.
Can
I
I,
understand you guys don't need my vote though. I'm
I
not
understand
gonna
it.
lie to you.
I
don't wanna lie to you and
respect your
tell you.
vote.
I don't wanna
respect
tell
your
you
can I
I'm absolutely
interject a
gonna
question,
say
guys,
yes.
please? Sorry, I really want
Yeah,
to
go
see
ahead.
if we can move towards, but I have a couple little roadblocks I want to get through. Heritage Oaks is really not my major concern next to Providence Estates. Do we know when, does anyone know when they got their SR number? Like, have they had that SR number from
Yeah,
day
I
one?
know that.
Just
John
pass it.
Jones
Not
said
day one,
20-some years ago.
but
Well, he's been there since 30 years?
Like, I'm just thinking, like, if they've got that information, it would be great if we could get it, and then we don't have to think
Can you
about
repeat
it.
that one more time?
If we could get the Heritage Oaks signature petition information, right?
yeah.
That would be easy. That's what I was hoping to do in the first place. I just was hoping someone might know already and might have
Right.
it.
This petition is,
I think John Jones in his
1985.
letter, his thing's like, why are you?
When is it?
this petition is from 1985.
That's probably
95.
Yeah, but she's asking about Providence, you're asking
No,
Providence.
Heritage Oaks.
Heritage Oaks.
Oh, no, I don't have
We
that.
don't have that
We
one?
didn't even,
Sorry.
I
honestly.
just thought maybe in all of this, they kind of submitted it to someone and we had it, that's all. Okay,
I mean, is there,
that's fine, I guess
I guess the other,
trying to figure out.
I guess, issue I might, you know, I don't know if it's an issue really, but if they pave the roads and NCDOT keeps them, and we don't maintain them, these people paying taxes to Marvin, they live in Marvin, and we're not taking their road, what's your?
That's always the
Well,
case. That's
oh,
been the
but
case.
now we're taking roads, so now we're spending money on roads, other places.
All they want is the
Whoa.
roads paved. That's what they want for their tax dollars. They don't want us to take them over.
Yeah,
Well,
but
then why would
that,
they
but
care
the
if we did?
policy has always
If they just
been,
want their roads paved, what difference would it make if we take them over or NCDOT does it?
If you come into my neighborhood, and I said this last time, and pave, that's great. But that doesn't mean I'm gonna
it's
give
the
you my road.
acceptance is the issue. It's
You
not.
wanna pave it, do it. I don't care.
But if NCDOT comes in and pays it, they now want the road, they're not gonna just pave your road for free and just to say, oh,
Right.
we'll
There's
just.
your assumption again. I'm saying, let me ask the question.
I mean, the agreement that they wanted you all to sign, they state maintained roads will be abandoned to the municipality upon final acceptance of the work.
Exactly, but we made a motion.
Right,
to
you
that,
didn't
but
sign it.
We didn't sign it.
Right.
That's why I wanna ask Lee. And the 12th?
Say again?
Is it the 12th? Is that what you said?
Well, when I just did the quick math, it looks like it's not the 12th, but maybe next week.
The
but if-
20th.
I'm not
Yeah.
thinking
Yeah.
straight anymore.
So if we meet on Friday, we should have time.
Yeah, I'll read this to you guys. It sounds pretty casual. It doesn't sound like we had to do an official, it was just an email. So we've got to the 20th, but it's just an email to
The 20th?
three.
It's Saturday.
He didn't even
10
know
days
that
from
they
now.
had a deadline, to be honest with you. When
10
I called
days?
him
10 days is
and
Saturday,
requested the
not the Saturday,
deadline,
but the
I mean,
following.
the extension, he didn't even know that there was a.
That's what this
deadline.
sounds like. It's
Yeah.
like, his actual words were, what side is it? 30-day extension will be fine, consider the deadline extended. That's the whole verbiage. So
When was that?
it looks like the 20th.
He sent that on the 20th?
No, that's when the
No.
due date is.
That's why I went, all right. it's
No,
10 days.
our new, if we follow this, our new deadline is the 20th, but I don't think we need to go to that. If he doesn't call me back tomorrow, I got Friday, and then Monday we're making a decision.
Oh, is everything
I'm on the-
available on Monday?
We can talk about it, I am.
Typically, the contracts come from someone else in his office and not him. I know in
Yeah, there's
years
some lady's
past.
name,
Yeah, in years past, she's the one who always sends and say, hey, you
Cindy
got a
or
receipt.
Laura Leno.
Yeah,
She's-
yes, she's the one who we always have to send money to.
I just, based on the,
So she was actually given the extension of 2 weeks.
Yeah, but
Gotcha, yeah.
Just
she's
say
the
the
one.
20th.
so just to be clear,
20th.
so I
It's
can
on
say this.
Saturday.
Based on the
Saturday.
spirit of the agreement, which was we would
So with.
pony up, partner with them and eventually take over. I don't want it to look like we're saying now oh, okay, you've agreed to that, you're gonna do it, and now we're basically telling you, we're not sure we're comfortable going forward because of litigation issues. But they're already saying it's their road, and it's like.
Well,
again,
here's what we haven't talked about is if you want us to be clean, now, keep in mind, I think we're down to just one subdivision that we're concerned about. It sounds like we're okay with Heritage, Mary? We think? Let's say we are. Well,
I have
or
less concerns, let's put it that way.
we were only ever concerned about the two, Heritage and Providence Estates, right?
Correct.
Yes.
Okay, so it was just those two subdivisions. So first, let's say that. The other is, I still think it needs work through once and for all, ideally. So even if Lee says, we'll do the roads, you don't have to take them over, we'll deal with that later. We can still reach out to the HOAs and try and get some sort of consensus that, look, you guys, we just need to take these over, but we don't want to just do it without your knowledge. So we can keep doing that, moving to that end, but in the meantime, let's take the pavement if they were offering it. And it's just a question at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I have no problem with that, but I guess my question is, if he comes back and says, the only way we'll pave him is you take him over, what do we do then? Then I said, then we have to have another meeting where we go through all kinds of.
Here's where I think we're at then, is you guys, I may still not be in agreement, Mary may still not be in agreement, but you guys are, and that's fine. You know, we're not always gonna.
I just don't wanna go through another 6-hour meeting that we're gonna be arguing back and forth about it again.
Oh, no, I'll tell you right now, if I come back and Lee says, no, you gotta take them over, I'm assuming you guys are gonna lean on Fox's report. Oh, go ahead.
So I guess I have a question for, I guess, a question to answer your question. When we take over the roads, do we own the land that the road is on, or can we enter a maintenance agreement where the property owner adjacent still owns if their deed says they own to the center of the road?
Do you own the land underneath the road? It's an easement. So the land belongs to technically the subdivision and or a private owner. So if it goes into the center line, then that portion actually belongs to the property owner. And it's an easement for those people within that subdivision. In another situation like a subdivision where there's common open space, there is still an easement. The land underneath it, I would guess, is probably technically part of the HOA, part of the common open space, but the easement can't be taken away, so it sort of rides over the road, so to speak.
DOT already has an easement over all those roads.
Right.
Like, that's recorded on the plat, that's what that dotted line is.
So I guess my question is then, could we have a similar easement
Yes.
on a state, when we're taking over a state
We're
road?
just maintaining it, but we don't own it.
Yes.
Is that what you're asking?
That's what I'm asking.
That's where it gets tricky. Except that the land underneath, right, if it's always been a private road,
It's still owned by the homeowner.
it's still owned by the homeowner, and if they don't want you on their easement, or grant you that easement, then they have the right, do you know what I mean? Like, they have the right to reject that. They should be given the right to reject that. That's where it gets
Do we have
tricky.
some sort of motion coming?
We're working on it.
Did I answer your question?
It did.
Okay.
Well, I mean, all I can say is, my own thing is, if he comes back and says they're willing to pave it without us accepting it, and they're gonna do it for free, you know, they're gonna take the whole cost of it, and not think that, I'm fine with that, that's great.
And I am too.
You know, but I guess I had something else in my mind.
Well, if he comes back and says, well, this deal's off and stuff, and.
Right, but,
How
so
can
so
it
no,
affect us?
I'm great with that part.
Whether they say yes or no.
I'm not concerned, really, maybe,
just wanna do this.
I don't feel the concern.
At that point, then we're
We have
gonna
3 attorneys'
have a conversation
opinions
about
that
private
the roads are state roads.
Then you can go ahead and do
I'm sure,
this.
I can't imagine the state doesn't have their own attorneys that, did these things, or whatever, if they didn't do them, then it's their responsibility. So I'm not worried about our liability from taking over a state road.
Because that's the first thing I would think our village would do, say, wait a minute, you,
Then we have to pave them
Yeah, so I mean,
again.
you paid them during
I'm
the
concerned
vote.
about that
But I think-
liability.
It's like them selling us something that they don't know.
It's not the liability, I'm
I mean, you don't do
concerned
it now,
about
but in the
the
bad, and then making it
homeowners'
so it's not
rights.
as.
Whether or
much
not,
work and it's
whether or
crazy
not
to
they
do.
really have them or not,
Okay.
no one's
You
had
know,
a
like
discussion
that.
with
I
them.
know you say that.
And
Well,
it's one thing to have people come in and have a heated debate over who's getting paid first, or, who gets to vote and who doesn't. It's a whole different issue when you tell someone who thinks they own to the middle of the road and has the right to say no trespass on vote, and tell them tomorrow you don't because we're taking it over.
And I can agree with that, except that we don't have to ask them their opinion. If we
Yeah, so
legally,
I
we
can
can
cross
do it.
this
If
out.
legally they don't own the road, if legally the state owns it, I mean, it's really not their decision.
Do you know
There is
how
no-
we,
that's
do you know how we
the
all
law.
had to take a course on ethics? And the whole ethics, no, listen, the whole ethics course wasn't about what's lawful or unlawful, it's about, is it ethical or not ethical? Now,
And,
when it comes to private landowners, is it within our right to just do something? Of course it is. But do I feel like it's ethical? No, I don't.
Well, then-
Yes.
And that's where, it's okay that we differ on that, but we come from different backgrounds, right? We have different perspectives. It's just how it is. So to answer your question about if Lee comes back and says, yes, sounds like we're all okay with, that's great. If he says no, I'm not gonna drag you guys through an hour-long meeting. We meet Monday, Lee said no, we gotta take him over, you guys vote. I may still be a no, but I'm not gonna drag you back through this. We're on record. Oh my God, we're on record. Right? So if that's your concern, another 6-hour meeting, I can promise you this. If he says no, I may still vote no, but I'm not gonna drag you back through this. Is that what you wanted to know?
Well, I mean, that's part of it. I mean, you gotta, if he says no, we come in Monday, as far as I'm concerned, we make a motion and
It's
vote.
done. It could be
I'm
the
not
shortest
gonna go
meeting we've
through
ever
a-
had.
Except for the
five
fact that we
hours.
have to finish the actual meeting.
Well,
What?
There's a
See,
whole other category of
you got
roads.
nothing. I hate it when you're paying attention.
I know, sorry.
There's a whole other
so
category
they-
of neighborhood public roads that you're missing too. That's a different category of private roads, that even if those were not private, I think they'd be more neighborhood public. The portion of Providence roads is states where they say they're private, those still could be neighborhood public roads.
yeah, that's, I know.
Because they have to have access to get.
But
it.
that's
Right, because people
right.
have to be
Have
able to
to have
get
access
right to your
all the
house,
way
you can't be
down.
landlocked, you can't say private road.
They're
It's
because
like
never
your,
gonna be
it's like
able-
your neighborhood's a neighborhood public road, but
Yeah.
private to
That
everybody.
person in the middle of the street that demands that you can't trespass.
Yeah, you can't do
You're
that.
That's
never
why
gonna
I'm
be able
saying,
to-
but that's
Oh,
why I'm saying you
It's
have
my
an easement
understanding
if
that
you
can't-
live within the
You can't do that
subdivision.
within your neighborhood.
Right.
But
Right.
if Joe comes and decides he wants to put a tent in
That's
front of
right.
my house, him I can no trespass.
Yeah.
But my neighbors I can't.
Correct.
On your property, yes, on the road now.
Well, if I own to the center of my road and Joe
Right,
decides
but
he's
you
on
have to have a
Sunday.
means of ingress and egress.
You're saying the
Or
same
the
thing.
rest.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You're saying the same thing.
So, okay,
Yeah.
yeah, so I'm with you.
Same thing. Same ideas I was talking about before.
All right.
Okay, I don't know, I feel like, did you guys come up with a different motion?
I think the
Wait,
motion
wait,
is
wait, wait,
to
wait.
give me 2 days. We will, if we can all agree on a time on Monday, we meet. I'm gonna call Lee tomorrow. Sounds like he needs time to get back to somebody. If he doesn't get back to me, we call it a no. I mean, if we're putting a deadline on it, and he doesn't get back to me, it's a no. But if he says yes, I'll report back to Christina. She'll let you know if verification needs to be done, it can be done, whatever. But then when we meet on Monday, my goal would be that we're gonna allow them to pay, but we're not gonna get into taking over the roads. Not to say the conversation ends there, but we've got enough going on. You know, those HOAs need to get together and figure this out once and for all, in my mind. But for this contract, make the phone call to Lee, he says yes or no, I report to Christina, Monday we have a meeting. at least that part of it shouldn't take very long.
And did you guys agree to that, to the meeting on Monday?
We're waiting on your all's motion.
Can I ask one question real quick? I'm sorry. So, the HOA communication, I know it was, the motion at the last meeting was to get with the HOAs to talk about replatting their plat so that they're publicly platted. Which I obviously haven't had time to contact the HOAs, but if we're gonna do the replatting, it's gonna take time to do that, so. I don't.
Yeah, but I feel like if we get their agreement and we have written agreements and things like that with them, then we can move forward.
With each one signing?
Well, I don't know what the process is.
Well, I mean,
I'm
it
just
was-
saying,
I
we
think
could
on
like-
Monday,
It would sound like unless they officially signed the plan or whatever, something official, them saying, yeah, I'll sign it, then they don't sign it.
So
They
should
can
I
just-
just,
But there's only 12 people or something in Heritage Oaks, isn't there?
What's,
No, we're talking about privacy
if
states.
I'm understanding
Oh.
everyone, either way, Monday, we're moving forward with a decision to pay. Either way, yes or no. So
Repeat
the whole
that again.
plat thing,
Be nice if we
Comes
could have the
out.
motion ready for Monday.
but I guess my question is, do I need to reach out to the HOAs?
We're out of here.
Or between now and
I
then?
know,
Finish the
I know.
meeting.
I don't think you have to do it. I mean,
Finish the
we
meeting.
still want you to reach out
Not
to them.
tonight, on Monday.
Well, we
Okay,
can-
so
it's not gonna
let's
get
make
resolved by
them,
Monday.
so you know
Recess
what?
till
We,
tomorrow.
so we do have something drafted, it shouldn't take this long. And the bottom line is, can we reach general agreement that to grant Councilman Epps the ability to call NCDOT, I'm not gonna say who, someone who can provide the answer, to whether or not NCDOT will pave the roads within Providence Road Estates and Heritage Oaks without the village committing to accepting those roads,
So moved.
right? Okay, and that, in the meantime, I guess that, with the intent being that we'll meet again to make a final decision on the contract and resolution 2019-03.
Which-
01, right? Isn't that what it is?
Which penalties are we talking about?
0302, pardon?
It's all part
So-
of one contract.
Let's say we
Yeah.
got Providence Estates,
The resolution and associated contract.
but does that include including Providence Estates, Beechwoods?
He's gonna,
Beechwood.
he's gonna call and, no, Beechwood's was on there already.
Yeah.
Beechwood.
I'm not gonna ask about Firethorn, I'm not gonna ask about Beechwood, I'm only asking about Heritage and Providence Estate.
Unless you, I mean, you,
Well, but Beechwood
Hesitate.
has got 121,000 that NCDOT is ponying up.
Yeah, we're taking that.
We're taking it.
We're
Yeah,
taking
that one's
that.
never.
Yeah, that was on
Oh,
there.
we're taking that, no
My-
matter
Yeah,
My-
that was never a question.
No.
what.
Correct.
yeah,
And Woodland Forest. My suggestion was.
because their plats were clear.
Yeah, my suggestion was that we find out, let Robert call and find out, and if the answer is yes, then then they pay Providence Estates.
Yeah.
We pay Beechwood, we pay Firethorn. I'm fine with doing Heritage Oaks now and Woodland. Providence Estates makes me nervous, I'd rather find out some more information, but I think we should do Beechwood, Firethorn, Heritage Oaks, Woodland Forest, ask the question about Providence Estates, and if they're gonna throw in Heritage Oaks too, great, but if not, I still think we need to go ahead and move forward with paving and accepting Heritage Oaks. But Providence Estates makes me nervous, and I would rather find out more information, and if it's a yes, which that is what one person was told by DOT, then super. If it's a no, then we'll have to make a decision on Monday. That's where I stand with it.
When
That's
you
where
say
I'm at.
super, are you saying paved road or just if you're gonna make a
She
motion?
was super.
So
she was
it will
saying
be
great.
clear.
That's great.
Yeah, that'd be great. Like if they're gonna, I was like, I don't know what I said. If DOT is going to pave Providence Estates regardless of what Marvin does, that would be fabulous.
So we're not asking, so,
And then- okay, so
it
if-
seemed like there was a lot of contention about taking Firethorn, so we're not gonna say.
My suggestion is to take it, because I feel like if we don't take it, then all this other stuff is gonna fall through. I remember doing these charts and looking at it, so this wasn't a surprise to me. I wanted to do Firethorn, I didn't want to do, I wanted to follow this, which is what AMT and DOT gave us. And But I understand the hesitation with Providence Estates. That whole neighborhood makes me super nervous. Heritage Oaks, I'm not worried about. And obviously the other three, I'm good with. That's where I
And
stand.
again, I guess just
Monday
what
would be
my,
the whole contract is what I gather.
What?
Monday we can decide on the whole kit and caboodle.
yeah, I just, like I said, I just.
Where you can make a motion now to do what you said we're gonna do, and then have in that motion that other neighborhood that we're talking about that you wanna go have a conversation with.
I mean, I almost would rather have a motion now to accept that than when we go come in Monday, now we're gonna argue again.
This
for
way
another
he
4 hours
knows
about
what our
fire code
intent
or-
is. He knows what our intent is. It's not like we're trying to change the rules in the middle of the,
But I'm also,
What I
I'm also
believe-
concerned just that we don't come to a meeting on Monday now, and now we're gonna argue about fire code for 3 hours, you know, we did the other thing.
right.
I just, you know,
But I think, do you think, it's like you're,
'Cause that seemed like it was pretty contentious
you're
before,
handing them you're showing them that you're still interested in doing and taking over roads and paying for roads out of our funds, our money, our funds and
Put
stuff,
that in the motion.
to show them you're serious.
Right.
But he may, to your point, if you talk to him, have a, say, you gotta understand where our concerns lie with this potential litigation that we may face. But I guess what I see is we're all missing the point is if the taxpayers are expecting an entity, whether it's NCDOT or it never gets done, or it's Marvin, paying for it, maintaining, who's gonna maintain it in perpetuity? Because those people look at it as like, I'm still paying a Marvin tax, but now in 10 years, because the road was never taken over, I gotta go back to the state, and who's gonna go to bat for them?
Well, you and
Which one are you
I
talking
don't
about?
completely agree on that, but like I said, if DOT does say yes, super, to use your word. But that doesn't mean the conversation ends there with Providence Estates, because this has been lingering
Yeah,
since what, 2014,
forever.
something, wherever that guy bought the land.
2008, 2007. Actually, 2006 was when Sunbelt first came through wanting to put a gate and promised to pay all the roads. It's been a long time.
So it's been going on a long time, and it'd really be nice to have it done once and for all. And it may not be within our authority to make everyone happy, but
I just think that if you're in the town of Marvin, eventually, all roads, regardless of how you think it's, all roads should be under Marvin thing. And I know you think that's spending the people's
Marvin
money.
thing?
this is from the guy.
Marvin umbrella, because and why I say that is we're all paying the same tax, and roads are
Yeah.
gonna deteriorate
I
at
like
different
that.
times. But, you know, if you're gonna rely on the state who's not is gonna be as responsive, they're probably not gonna get the roads done if they stay under the state umbrella. They're probably gonna get it done if they're under Marvin, because we're all paying the same taxes, and then you get on the schedule, because once we own it, then we write our own policy. But right now, DOT's, I truly believe the only reason they're even getting a look at some of these roads is because we're the ones coming in saying we're taking over roads. So I want it to be all the same. If I'm paying a tax, regardless of what area I'm at in Marvin, and I'm paying a tax, I want to be, no, I don't want to know, oh, this is a state road, but I'm paying the tax like everybody else is, but 70% of Marvin or 90% of Marvin is getting the roads done by Marvin, that other 10% is not. So the goal, back to the goal is, you all pay the same tax, you should all be under the same umbrella. That's the goal.
That's ideal, but the problem is that ever since we've gone with NCDOT or accepted these roads, it feels to me, and I could be wrong, but it feels like we're still under their umbrella. We're negotiating through them, we're contracting through them. Our roads can't be built up to a proper standard
And we're
above
trying to
what
get out of it.
NCDOT. Yeah, but the point is, all of this sort of thing should have been truly exhausted ahead of time. So, because ideally, you know, sure, I would love that too. But you can't just say it without putting the work in to be sure that it gets done and it gets done properly.
Which goes back to my original point, is why I never was in favor of getting into this, because of all the nuts and bolts that go along with this. That we don't have a policy plan, we didn't even have a road plan when we were borrowing, last time I checked, we were using the one from Waxhaw because we didn't even have a road policy, but we were getting into it so fast. So I was on record
Yeah.
for saying that for the longest time.
Well-
We don't have the funding, we don't have the full thing, but we're learning as we go. That's why I asked the question the other day, what did we learn from your neighborhood and stuff? But the bottom line is, if you change the rules, which I think it almost appears that we're changing the rules in the middle of the game, we're moving the goalpost. I don't know how that's gonna be taken by DOT. I think the intent was always to be, these roads are gonna be turned over, and that's what you want to do.
Okay, but what's it called when somebody moves the goalpost 2 or 3 times? Because that's how I feel
Cheating?
at this point. Well, I don't know who did what, but it feels like there was a road acceptance policy, the goalposts were set. Then somehow between those goalposts and now, another set is coming up. So for someone to say, okay, well, we're just gonna go with whatever this last goalpost move was, because that's the one
Well,
that's in the
that's-
ground. And I'm just gonna say this because it's gonna qualify, I'm sure, to some motion. That's why I have trouble voting for anything that wasn't on the original road acceptance plan. That doesn't mean I stop anyone else from doing what they feel is right, or even drawing up the motion. But I can tell you, for my sake, the fact that this goalpost has changed 2, 3, 4 times, and now we're just gonna go, okay, well, we're in a rush, so we're gonna, all of a sudden, now the rules matter. Now not changing the rules matter. That to me just seems, not to any one person, it just seems disingenuous to me.
So what I think is, we're the ones changing the goalpost. It's not DOT that's changing the goalpost, because I think that agreement always
But
stated.
it was DOT, we didn't pick these roads.
No,
DOT
but
did
that's
these.
how they did the first batch of roads.
Right, but
When you think
DOT
about
did
it.
But that's why I
Right,
say, why
right.
did Providence Ridge change then? See what I'm saying? I'm not saying
I
anyone
know,
here is
I
responsible.
understand,
I'm just
I
saying that it
understand.
feels weird to have a list that says, I don't know who's deciding if it's not us. That's where I feel a little bit like even me, I guess, feel a little bit like a certain degree of, a ball was dropped somewhere. And I feel almost uncomfortable about putting any money towards anything at this point on a whole other level, just because I'm not even sure why these decisions were made, when they were made, why all of a sudden it said Willow Creek, now the contract comes and there is no Willow Creek. I know you all explained it, but that feels rushed and it feels irresponsible to me. That's all.
Yeah.
And I just have to say my piece from where I stand. I don't expect anyone to change their mind or and I don't need to argue again forever and ever, but it truly is sincerely my sense of responsibility that we don't continue to see that whatever it is we've been seeing over the last year, that roads come on, they come off, and I don't know for what reason, and now we're voting to put money towards them. I don't understand it all. So that's it, that's just how I feel. That doesn't mean we should move forward,
It's
That's how I
ironic
feel.
that a group of people would come and say that we slighted them for political reasons when we didn't. We said, let's just talk to them. They would come as a group and say that, where we don't even know how the list ended up where it was. So, but I think we're all willing to get past it. Is that motion still up?
Yeah.
Can I make it?
You sure?
Okay.
Or no motion.
All right, yeah, no, go back, yeah, up. No, up. No, go back down.
You read the roll.
Right here?
Yeah, keep going just a little bit. Okay, all right, we're ready.
Is everyone good on Monday, by the way?
Yeah, I'm fine.
We're gonna make a motion to have a meeting on Monday or take, recess it.
I can
till
do it
Monday
after 10:30.
Yeah, I can make after 10:30.
in the morning.
Yes, in the morning, AM.
I think I'm good.
Okay, I like,
Yeah.
are you good? No? Yeah, okay. All right. Bear with me. I'd like to make a motion to grant Councilman Epps the ability to call NCDOT for a time to not exceed a week to find out whether NCDOT will pave roads in Providence Estates and or Heritage Oaks without village commitment on accepting those roads or to accepting those roads. If the answer is no, that NCDOT will pave the roads regardless of village acceptance, Resolution 2019-03-02 and the associated will be sanctioned by the council with the following amendments. that the roads Beechwood, Heritage Oaks, Woodland Forest, and Firethorn will be paved and accepted by the village. And every effort should be made to arrange a meeting with the HOA of Providence Estates to sort out public-private road issues with the purpose of finding village solutions. We request that the road acceptance policy be reviewed in the next 3 months and updated.
Why are we putting?
She can email that to me.
Yeah, you said
You may want that one
said
out.
a week. I didn't like that.
Okay, so
Can I borrow your?
So till
Yeah,
Friday.
I'll send it to you. Once I'm sure
I'm
she's.
fine with
or
that.
Monday.
Thank you, Michael.
Friday. Friday.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. Okay, so I'm changing the time not to find out by Friday, April
It had to be-
12th.
We're meeting Monday at 11, just make it Monday.
Monday, April 15th.
Give me till Monday at 10
The time is a
a.m.
meeting,
Yeah,
right?
Monday, April 15th,
I don't know if the guys got Friday off. I don't
Okay.
know.
with that
But not a
amendment.
week, just Monday at 10 a.m.
With that amendment.
So, in a nutshell, can you explain what you were?
Everything minus Providence Estates.
And now I have a request that we also amend it to provide the staff with the time, right? As to when to contact Providence Estates?
A timeline on the HOA.
Yeah. Okay.
Amend the Providence Estates timeline to contact them by the May meeting.
And do we want to do, oh, it's not going to matter because Heritage Oaks regardless, right? If you
Yeah.
guys feel confident. Okay.
So either way, whatever we hear, you're saying those other roads are still getting done.
Yes.
Well, I mean, that's the motion, but is anybody obligated to it? What they?
What's that?
Not for.
I'm saying, nobody's, we.
I mean, you can
I think when he
no.
goes, I know, but when he goes into that conversation with anyone, whoever, DOT, you know, he can say, hey, we just made a motion to continue this process on all these other things, but we have issues here, so can you help us out a little?
Well,
bit?
I guess my question or my concern would be, he goes to Lee and Lee says, yeah, we'll do that. Now we come back Monday and we get into an argument about fire door. We're not gonna do fire.
No,
We
it's
don't-
done. This is
No, he's making the motion. He's just
Firethorn's
making
in
it now.
there.
This is the motion
To do.
from Monday, so we don't have to make a motion Monday for anything?
No.
Well, the motion's being
Unless he
made
says
tonight.
no.
The motion's being made tonight. We're just gonna come back on Monday and clarify with it.
Well, we already
This
voted
other
on, we already
stuff
voted on
is-
the motion, so if he says yes, then it's done. We don't discuss it anymore, there's no more discussion,
Correct.
there's no more.
Correct.
So that's what I'm saying, if we're gonna start discussing the fire door on Monday,
No.
No.
it's-
well, I'm
it's
just
in
saying,
here.
we can say that, but, you
Don't
know.
have the
No,
time
that's
or
why I'm
patience
saying my
for any
piece
of
now.
this.
I'm just saying my piece now on it. I'm just the road, the whole thing. That's all.
Okay, so
So
maybe
we're
as long as he
doing
knows that we're
everything,
taking
and
what we
he's
don't
asking
take,
to
you
see
know.
if they can do it, if they wanna do it, pave it. It's just, the only thing that lingers out there, just so we know, they get it paved and they're happy as pie. But then down the road in 5 years, there's still a limbo, or we pursuing.
We're gonna
But-
pursue, it's
we're
part of the
pursuing.
motion.
Yeah, it's part of the motion
Okay,
that.
yeah.
I'd like to see that cleaned up if at all possible. and put on this.
I think I talked about it one time, is like, those private roads that attach to that development,
Private public.
I would encourage, if you think private is better than public when it comes to having access, it's just a private entity fighting a developer versus a public entity fighting a developer, and saying, no, we don't want that access and stuff, because I agree with that, that's the last thing I want to see happen. But where's there more clout? Is it with the private individual saying, no, you can't take my land to access and make this a road, or is it with a public entity? Because maybe that landowner doesn't have the funds to fight the big guy, you know, I mean, the big developer. It
Well,
could happen. There's a lot of scenarios that can happen there, and that's why sometimes the public part of it, you know, especially if we have an ordinance that's saying, no, I mean, maybe we write up an ordinance that's in the town of Marvin, no cut through.
Be a motion.
Things this way you don't, you know, I'm just trying to protect
well,
us down the
in our
road.
ordinance,
Because
it
I
has that sort of language, but I think right now, tonight, we're at one step at a time.
get it.
Motion's on the table.
Okay. Further discussion.
Hold on, we have an amendment. So staff has also asked if we might clarify the portion about contacting the HOAs. So it now reads, every effort will be made to arrange a meeting with the HOA of Providence Estates right? And/or Heritage, I mean, we should still do them regardless.
Sure.
Right?
Heritage Oak should be a pretty easy.
It should be easy, that's what I'm thinking. That's what I
Especially after
figured.
tonight.
Yeah.
So hopefully they.
By the May meeting to verify
one person.
and/or clarify, because
Yep.
the state of relevant or pertinent
Is
public-private
there actually one
roads
person?
within the subdivision.
Say that again.
Hang on.
I haven't talked to any of them in there. The only person I talked to was John, back when he was here, we were here the same day.
To-
You know, he was asking.
With the purpose to verify and/or clarify the state of pertinent public-private roads within the subdivision.
There's probably a holdout in there.
And for Heritage, that would be one road. They're all
I told John, I
pertinent.
said,
But
John, I'm
in
not
Providence
gonna say
Estates, it's gonna
just
be
listen
different.
to the- and
Does that make
they
sense?
don't-
Well,
I don't even
No,
know
I
if
just
they
don't know
have to
specifically
listen
y'all want.
to
Do y'all want a
tape
letter
yourself.
signed? Do you want me
assume
to
he
talk about
did.
replatting? Do you
I think
want-
we're gonna have to just have,
Or just have a meeting.
Just have a meeting and find out.
and say, what are they willing to
Yeah,
do?
yeah.
Okay, so we're not necessarily talking about replatting.
We just,
See, with Heritage Oaks, I'm hoping that they can provide the signatures, and that's case closed. With Providence Estates, heck, I have no clue off the top of my head, but probably replatting.
But maybe we could get, if
Just
nothing
start
else,
talking to 'em.
we can get some
Start
sort of
gathering
signature
information.
saying that they allow us to.
Right, but right now
Without
you're just talking about the portions that are state maintained roads.
right.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, that's why I say
Yeah,
pertinent
that's
roads, I just, yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
Like
Wait,
next
hold on,
time.
next line here.
so
I-
that's,
I'll try to get more clarity on, I'll try to reach out to them and I'll get more clarity Monday.
yeah,
I'm
because I
not,
bet
I'm
you
not
we could
sure
sit
I'm
here
I'm
and-
specific enough to understand it fully.
it comes down to one or two things, right? Options. If they become accepted roads, my thought is this: we could then enact our own policy, right? Because NCDOT right now has theirs, but we can enact our own, which says, look, could you all verify whatever, this contract is out there, and then it could be just a matter of signatures,
Did you just say that?
right? Or the replatting. I can't imagine replatting is going to cost more than like $700 max, $400 or $500. What does it take to to drop a plat? Nobody would know. As far as I know, they're about $500 to get a plat for the subdivision. If they're all chipped in, they get it changed, they write ROW. Heck, they could probably use the one they have and submit it, and it's done. Like, to me, it shouldn't be too difficult, as long as they all agree. That's pretty easy. But anyway, so that's what I'm thinking. I just don't want to write that here in case.
Yeah, no, just
Nick, did you
information.
hear the
gathering.
amendment
Yeah.
to the motion?
No, I didn't. It's on here, I guess.
Should we read it again? You want to read it again?
The whole thing?
I don't know.
Just
I
the
think you
amendment.
should for clarity.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Here, I'll make it smaller so you can read the whole thing.
Okay, all right. I'd like to make a motion to grant Councilman Epps the ability to call NCDOT, take that part out, for a time not to exceed by Monday, April 15th at our meeting, by the council meeting start time, to find out whether NCDOT will pave roads in Providence Estates and/or Heritage Oaks without village commitment to accepting these roads. If the answer is no, that,
If the answer is yes.
no, if the answer is yes.
It should be yes.
I'm
That's
sorry.
where
If
I.
the answer is yes, that the NCDOT will pave the roads regardless of village acceptance, resolution 2019-03-02, and the associated will be sanctioned by the council with the following amendments. That the roads of Beechwood, Heritage Oaks, Woodland Forest, and Firethorn be paved and accepted by the village of Marvin. And every effort should be maintained to arrange a meeting with the HOA of Providence Estates and Heritage Oaks by the May meeting to verify and/or clarify the state of pertinent public-private roads within the subdivision. And we ask that the
I'll write that.
road acceptance policy be reviewed in the next 3 months and updated.
Can we say something in there with the intent of getting it turned over to Marvin?
Sure.
Can we say
We do that,
I mean,
yeah.
that's,
I'll get with the
when
additional.
we're talking to
Yeah.
these
Yes,
HOAs,
okay.
that's the intent.
Yes,
We're
amended with adding that we add, within the subdivision, with the
Oops.
added
System.
purpose of adding their roads to the village road system.
Yep.
the intent of that, okay? Further discussion. All's in favor?
Aye.
Mary?
Nay.
Okay. 3 yay. Yays
So we got
and
3
1 nay.
yeses and
I mean, yes and no, and then I would like a minute to qualify after that.
Well,
Are you ready?
it's a
Did you
3
vote?
to 3 to
I
1.
voted. I
You
said
voted.
Did you
Yeah.
vote? Yes,
Yeah.
you did? Okay. So, yeah, because I don't know, we used to be on the planning board, we used to have to say why, so I'm gonna just say why. My,
Well, you don't have to, the vote's taken, but so if you want to share that. you
just
can.
for the record, so, if you don't mind, Barbie, just that I mentioned that I very much in favor of talking to the HOAs, I have been from the beginning. I really do want to find solutions to all these problems because they've lasted much too long. I'm hoping that we will come to a solution so we can accept all the roads within Marvin eventually. And that my only reason for opposing it in general is because of the process that's occurred up until now. And I don't feel 100% confident that some of the decisions were reached with all the information that was necessary. But not withholding that.
Okay. So just to be clear, so if he comes back and he says, no, we're not going to do that.
Then we have to make a decision on
We'll make
Monday.
that decision on Monday, but we're still going forward with the other stuff? Is that?
Yes.
Yeah, it's all done.
That's what okay. All right.
That's what you wanted, right, Nick?
Yes.
Okay, so 12 o'clock.
So we have
Motion
not,
recess.
I would say that we have not finished number 1 in case we need to continue to talk
we-
about it.
I don't know, do we?
Yeah, just
Only
in
to
just
hear
in case
from
he says
Robert,
no.
I guess,
Yeah.
right?
So we
Hear from
haven't,
Robert.
so we haven't moved on.
Okay.
So I think we should table 1, table the rest of unfinished business, table Village Hall,
Oh gosh, where's the agenda?
table review of action items and council comments
Hold on.
Monday,
until Monday
see
the
what we can get through Monday.
15th. And then we move into closed session.
Oh,
Yeah,
thanks.
since Melanie's here.
What was that?
Okay?
Tabling everything but
Is that a motion?
Yeah,
Is that a motion?
yes, that's a motion, yeah.
You guys
That
get
wasn't
that?
very well done, but
She
yeah.
made a motion to
Actually, I
basically
think that was good.
table number 1, since we're not done with it, to Monday,
Everything else,
and everything else
yes,
until Monday,
yep.
including Village Hall agenda items, and
Yep.
then, come Monday, we just start back up with.
So,
With
so,
number
so,
one, with an
in-
answer.
so in essence, then we're gonna recess the meeting until Monday. because
Yeah, that's
you
what I
can't
said,
just-
recess.
I was
Can't
gonna
make it a
get you
special
to
meeting.
clarify
I said
that.
recess.
Just recess.
Recess.
You just said table. So-
Table 1 and recess 1, the rest of unfinished business, Village Hall, agenda items minus closed session, and move into closed session.
So we're gonna,
Now.
with that, we're not recessing yet, we're gonna move into closed
Right.
session.
Yeah.
Then we come out of closed session, and we'll recess
I'm
the
saying,
regular
we're gonna
meeting.
recess.
For a time certain and a location.
Yes, absolutely, so we set that now, should we?
Well, we'll do it when we come out of closed session,
Yeah.
right? Or do we need?
So we're tabling all the
Oh, we're gonna
items
table
to
everything until Monday, April 15th at 10:30?
10:30,
Please, yeah, that's fine.
Is that good?
and
Okay,
then,
here
Are
at
we
Village
still have a
Hall.
closed session?
Oh, yeah.
yeah,
Okay. Where did that come from?
It's been on there.
On the agenda.
Yeah.
The last thing.
okay,
Okay,
further discussion? All's in favor?
aye. Okay, I'd like to make a motion to
Wait a minute,
move.
I just got 2 ayes.
Oh, sorry.
3, Nick?
Yeah, I'm ready.
You got
Okay,
ayes.
sorry.
Four ayes.
I'd like to make a motion to move
there
into
it
closed
is.
session pursuant to NCGS 143-318.11A6 to discuss personnel matters.
All's in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. We'll call for a quick 1 minute. Audie, right?